Chapter 588. Everyone who reacted immediately followed the adjutant and flew towards the intense battle in the sky. A few of the weaker soldiers did not even have the time to make a sound and fell down from the sky. The adjutant's exclamation caused the troops to be in an uproar. All of the soldiers' faces changed. The might of the Empyrean ice tree spear caused everyone to change. It was the most feared weapon of the blue dwarfs. An intense fear enveloped his entire body. The enemy suddenly became a stranger. There was nothing worse than that. The explosive sound caused him to be extremely focused. He could not care about anything else, and only knew how to crazily wave the short sword in his hand. The light swallows flying around Sun Jie continued to be destroyed. In the blink of an eye, the number of light swallows decreased. His yin protection became sparse. The shattered auras of the light swallows transformed into mist. Am I emitting smoke? Tang Tian was clear of the power of an army. Furthermore, Sun Jie was an outstanding military general. Ka. The sea of blood released a strong pressure, pushing the sea of energy to a corner, compressing it into a small ball. Sun Jie's adjutant saw that the situation was bad, and without caring about anything else, he shouted, "Support master!" Just at that moment, the bronze boxes that flew in front of them all shattered. If not for the fact that Tang Tian's appearance was completely unrelated to the blue dwarfs, they would have thought that Tang Tian was a blue dwarf. After absorbing the devil flame, his zero-energy body finally had a qualitative leap. The gray flames was the power of the zero-energy body. It was too timely. His speed could not catch up to the enemy. That meant that he had lost the initiative, which meant that he was unable to get rid of the enemy and return to the formation. His heart was filled with regret. He originally thought that he would win the battle, but he had actually fallen into such a desperate situation. The situation did not allow him to hesitate. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "Frontline defense." Tang Tian felt extreme pain. Every blood vessel in his body felt as though they were about to explode, and at the same time, there was an intense burning sensation. The gray flames were faint, revolving around Tang Tian's fist, and did not dissipate. Tang Tian immediately decided to delay the enemy. Most importantly, he could not let Sun Jie and his subordinates meet up. Once Sun Jie and his army converged, then he and Shi Sin's group would definitely not be a match for them. The moment the avarice black devil disappeared, Tang Tian's body shook, and the bulging veins quickly dissipated. The fresh blood in the blood furnace started to flow along his blood vessels, flowing into every corner of Tang Tian's body. This was his spoil of war from the blue sea of light. The blue dwarves used it as a javelin, and Tang Tian was very clear about its power. Even Ling Su was caught off guard and was tricked. All of the Empyrean ice tree branches shattered. The blue energy, like a cold wave, spread across half of the team. The strange energy seeped into their bodies. What was that? Apart from the color of the sea of blood becoming brighter, there seemed to be no other changes. Dozens of rays of blue light entered the group. How could Tang Tian not notice such a big movement? His mood instantly became extremely terrible. Tang Tian decided to name it Null Flames. He had never seen such a weird flame before. The null flames were neither hot nor cold, and if any objects without energy touched it, they would not have any reaction. It only had an astonishing destructive power towards energy, and any energy that touched it would instantly be destroyed. The reason why he was able to pierce through the Swallow Protection's outer layer of defense so easily was because of the null flame's destructive effect towards energy. Tang Tian's mind suddenly popped out with such a ridiculous thought. He was amused by himself. He wanted to smile, but it was uglier than crying. The adjutant exclaimed out in shock. His face changed. Only blue dwarves had Empyrean ice tree spears, and only high-level blue dwarves had them. How could he have so many Empyrean ice tree spears? The wooden chest suddenly shattered, and the things inside, like a black rainstorm, shot towards them. What made him even more ecstatic was the gray flames coiling around his fist. Sun Jie was scared out of his wits. He never thought that Tang Tian would suddenly become so powerful. as long as he had a bit more time. The wooden chest that was the size of a table was raised up high by Tang Tian and fiercely thrown towards the incoming group of people. The adjutant's eyes congealed, and he subconsciously slowed down. The opponent's speed suddenly became extremely fast, and Sun Jie suddenly realized that he could not keep up with the opponent's speed. Tang Tian's heart was filled with unwillingness, but he knew that if he was surrounded by the 400 elites, even if he had just broken through, he would die here. But the surprise that Tang Tian had given them was not over. Bang! But it is rather interesting. Sun Jie was cautious and did not attack. The opponent's appearance was too terrifying, and he did not know what had happened to him. He was not too worried. Even if the opponent had broken through, he would definitely not be able to become a silver saint from energy barrier. For the sake of delaying these people, why would Tang Tian hold back? With the Empyrean ice tree branches, a wooden chest appeared in Tang Tian's hands. Bang! The purified devil flame was continuously being absorbed by the sea of blood, causing the sea of blood to become even brighter, but the temperature quickly dropped, and the sea of blood once again became calm. Black demon of desire. The black mist rumbled, roaring incessantly. They rapidly shrunk, and in the next moment, transformed into a strange-looking demon, standing there coldly. Its skinny body was formed from countless of tiny greedy dark worms. The greedy dark worms did not have a physical body, and were a part of the desire law. Empyrean ice tree spear. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Every time the sea of blood swallowed the flames, it would spit out black fragments. In the blink of the eye, the black fragments would cover the entire sea of blood, transforming into an endless black mist. These black fragments were the laws contained in the devil flame, representing the laws of the dark side of desire. Tang Tian noticed Sun Jie's panic at the first moment, and without hesitation, he attacked again. He clenched his teeth, not being stingy with the energy in his body. The short sword in his hand continued to dance. Light swallows after light swallows flew out from the blade and entered the circle of light. The potential that burst forth from the moment of life and death allowed him to break through his limits. The light swallows entered the circle of light like rain. A blue light blossomed from Tang Tian's hands. Damn it! Taking a deep breath, Tang Tian's hands suddenly had a bunch of blue tree branches. A cold light aura suddenly surged out from the small bronze box. Damn it! Just give me a little more time, just a little more time, and Sun Jie will not be able to hold on. He acutely sensed that the frequency at which Sun Jie waved the short sword was decreasing, proving that the energy in his body was being consumed to the limit. Not right, his face changed. The intense sense of danger caused all the hairs on his body to stand. A fist had suddenly appeared in front of him, but now the zero energy body's ability had finally appeared. If he was hit by that fist, his brain would have been smashed like a watermelon. Ha! In the dense and clear explosion, Tang Tian was like a zigzagging lightning. Before the ripples in the air had even spread out, he had already appeared in front of Sun Jie. How is that possible? He completely did not know how the opponent broke through the outer layer of the yin protection. His yin protection did not have any blind spots. Every light swallow's judgment of the attack was extremely accurate. The fear of death made Sun Jie throw away all the distracting thoughts and frantically blocked Tang Tian's attack. The adjutant's face changed and anxiously reminded, "Be careful." But it was already too late. They were worried about their master's life, and all of them sprinted forward at full speed. In the ice tree branches that Tang Tian had thrown out, he used all his strength. He felt that he had never felt so powerful before. Tang Tian was extremely happy at the moment. The surging power filled his entire body. He felt that his body was like an ocean. With every move he made, he had the power to topple the mountains and overturn the seas. The explosions that sounded like frying beans continued to sound out from Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian's body was trembling like a sieve. The warm flow dispersed into his 4 limbs and 5 bones. His entire body felt as though it was wrapped in warm seawater. It was extremely comfortable. This was the true reason why the devil flame was so strong. The avarice black devil was scattered in the devil flame. As long as any of the avarice dark worms entered the opponent's mind, it would either be invisible or incinerated. He could feel that his body was undergoing an astonishing change. His bones had become even more compact and sturdy. His muscles had become even more tenacious and firm, filled with explosive power. Even his skin had become like metal paper. From the looks of it, Tang Tian did not seem to have any changes. Tang Tian clenched his teeth. He was about to retreat, but suddenly from the corner of his eyes, he saw a small black dot in the distance. He was startled and immediately became ecstatic. It was the underworld system demonic mounts led by Shi Sun. With a sudden roar, Tang Tian gathered all the strength in his body and threw out the ice tree branches in his hands. Inside the Gemini furnace, the sea of blood was boundless, churning and roaring, the bewitching red gigantic waves swallowing and spitting out flames. The sky full of fireflies and fiery sand, all dissipated, and Tang Tian's figure was revealed to everyone. Sun Jie felt that he did not come for nothing. Although he was energy retarded, but he had all sorts of methods, causing him to widen his horizons. Suddenly, his pupils constricted. Tang Tian, who was opposite him, had smiled at him, revealing his snow-white teeth. The light aura from the 3 light swallows was like a light mist, hitting his face, causing Sun Jie to be at a loss. This guy, what relationship does he have with the blue dwarfs? The soldiers in front all lit up their energy shields, preparing to defend against the attack. The opponent's fist was less than half a meter away from his face and was blocked by the 3 light swallows. Any blood meridian would have its own unique ability, and when the blood meridian evolved to a certain realm, these abilities would be unlocked. Tang Tian's zero-energy body had never displayed any special abilities. Other than his body becoming stronger, there did not seem to be any other benefits. But the Blue Dwarves would never sell the Empyrean Ice Tree Spears. Countless of Grandmasters were curious about the legendary sharp weapon, but the market was unable to buy the Empyrean Ice Tree Spears. Pa! The Black Devil of Greed melted like a snow puppet. But a pity, it met the Blood Furnace, which only had the purest power of blood meridians, and only the laws that could be assimilated into the blood meridians would it choose. The seemingly undying Black Devil of Greed, facing the pure power of the physique, was unable to resist at all, and was smashed into pieces. The fist struck one of the light swallows, bang. The light swallows were smashed into pieces. His pupils dilated. He could not believe it, and in that moment he actually lost his reaction. Only then did the adjutant see clearly that what was flying towards them were all square bronze boxes. Chapter 589. The obstructions in their vision were swept away. Shi Sun knew that they had already broken through the enemy's formation. At that moment, Tang Tian, who could not move his hands, directly threw out a chest. The adjutant's eyes suddenly constricted. Shi Sun's small team was in an assault formation. Sun Jie became more and more desperate. The opponent seemed to never tire. The opponent's fists were getting heavier and heavier, and the strange gray flames made him feel extreme danger. Bang! The dragon head had just broken through the formation, but the dragon body was still in the formation, and with the explosion, it immediately cleared out a wide, empty space in the middle of the formation. From the moment Shi Sun started his assault, Tang Tian placed all of his attention on Sun Jie, who was at the end of his rope. Tang Tian, who had just broken through, was brimming with boundless power. The comrades at the front suddenly lost control. The soldiers behind were too close and were unable to dodge in time. They were shocked and immediately slowed down. The 8th Army elites, who did not have any defense, were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Their screams, curses, and screams were all swallowed by the torrent. They did not have any intention of slowing down. The distance between them was only 50 m. With such a short distance, they could not change directions in time. His body froze. The expression on his face froze. Chi. A few of them were already thinking that after the battle ended and returned to the camp, they would have another topic to talk about. They were filled with anticipation. The master was like a god in their hearts. When the time comes, everyone will definitely have an intense discussion. When Shursen's troops completed breaking through his formation, Sun Jie's heart finally collapsed. Kill! When Shursen appeared from the back, Sun Zheng and the rest cheered. Law fragments. The cold light auras were not considered strong, and many of them were as thin as hair. The thick and sturdy energy barriers that could defend against the attacks of armies, in front of the seemingly weak and powerless light auras, were useless. The master was in imminent danger and could be defeated at any time, causing him to be extremely anxious. The Eighth Army was personally created by Sun Jie, and more than half of the soldiers had countless connections with the Sun family. To them, Shursen had no reason to betray them, so when Shursen appeared again, Sun Zheng and the rest immediately saw him as their savior. Shursen's temper was bad and stubborn, but after all, he was an old soldier and fought ferociously. The old men beside him were like him. Be careful! The originally orderly formation was now in chaos. If something happened to His Excellency, as long as he met up with the Lord, the other party would definitely die. He screamed hysterically. Who the hell are you? If we were to say that Tang Tian's origin mark box was like an assassin's dagger, quietly reaping lives, then Shursen's underworld continent demonic mounts attack was like a heavy battering ram, filled with power. The soldiers at the very front opened up their energy shields and shouted as they charged forward. Their expressions were that of eagerness. From their point of view, their master had only messed up this time. The crisscrossing rays of light were like soundless but deadly blades that instantly pierced into the formation. The dazzling ball of light enveloped the entire team. The torrent of blade auras followed the slash of the evening snow sea in Shursen's hand, surging out. Each saber gleam was only the size of a palm, but the torrent of this slash was made up of 600 saber gleams, like a thin blade scratching a white paper. There was no blood splattering, no screams of anguish. In silence, many people's bodies had many hair-thin bloodstains. Dragonfish transformation. What happened? Explode. All the hair-thin light auras were pure laws, although they were just fragments of laws, but laws were laws, and their might was at that moment. Men and horses fell, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. A cold intent suddenly surged up from his back. All the hairs on his body stood. His face changed. Enemy attack. The blade aura torrent slashed out a large gap. Shursen was clear that the army was already on the verge of collapse. As long as he gave them a fatal blow, they would completely collapse. All right, the master rarely messes up. Even if something happens occasionally, it is not a big deal. Sun Zheng and the rest cheers had numbed the people of the Eighth Army. They thought that their brother army had come to support them, and heaved a sigh of relief. The sudden attack had caused their morale to drop to the lowest point, and now that they had reinforcements, it caused their morale to rise. The distance between the two parties quickly closed up. The hair-thin light auras were like willow leaves blown by the wind, landing on the energy barrier at the front. The 500 men that came with Sun Jie were all elites selected from the Eighth Army. All of them were powerful and experienced in battles. Facing the cold light auras, they were not afraid, the light auras were not strong, and the energy undulations were close to non-existent. The 300 origin mark boxes had caused over 70 casualties. The ancient weapon had unleashed an astonishing might. The adjutant's pupils dilated, the surging blade auras occupied every corner of his vision. He was at a loss, his mind blank. The origin mark boxes were created by Tang Tian the last time he was in ancient cold city. At that time, he was prepared to use them against other saints. But after being used the single-valve stronghold to solve the problem, the origin mark boxes had always been lying in Tang Tian's Aquarius vase. After that, Tang Tian found a pile of remnant pieces of spirit treasures in the warehouse. How could crazy Tang sit back and watch it go to waste? He wanted to use them all as origin mark boxes. Shursen, who was at the head of the dragon, gently waved the evening snow ocean, causing the light screen to distort like a broom. It struck the adjutant, who was in a daze, causing him to spit out blood and fly out. Unlike the assistant, who was burning with anxiety, The others weren't too worried. The distance between the two sides was less than 500 zhong, and a full sprint would only take a blink of an eye. They did not slow down at all. Instead, they charged forward. Their formation spread out. The soldiers on both sides spread out, while the soldiers at the back spread out. They were prepared to outflank the enemy. The adjutant was also stunned by the scene in front of him. He had experienced many battles, but he had never seen such a terrifying scene. The soldiers who had lost their lives fell to the ground, but the blood mist in the air did not dissipate. The pungent smell of blood made this place look like a battlefield of Azura. The positions of the underworld continent's demonic mounts changed. The light aura that enveloped the entire group also changed, transforming into a light dragon that rushed into the formation through the gap. Curses continuously sounded out, and the troops were in chaos. The sudden chaos at the front caused the soldiers at the back to loudly curse. All of a sudden, all the cursing stopped abruptly. The surging waves suddenly stopped. The aide-de-camp's mind trembled. The 8th Army Sun family. I will definitely not be able to escape from the military law. In terms of strength, they had the absolute advantage. As long as they didn't make any fatal mistakes, there wouldn't be too much of a problem. The light chance caused everyone's mind to tremble in the midst of the chaos. A stern look flashed past Sher Sen's eyes. Evening Snow Ocean was placed in front of his nose, and he bellowed. How can an energy barrier be so strong? Kill. Tang Tian had a total of 3 boxes of origin mark boxes in his hands, and each box contained a total of 300 origin mark boxes. 300 origin mark boxes suddenly exploded. I can't change direction in time. Charge! Before he lost consciousness, he thought about the gray flames lingering around the opponent's fist. What is that? We are on the same side. We are on the same side. That is Sher Sun. It's Sher Sun. Countless of blood pillars suddenly shot out from the front of the troops. The blood pillars crisscrossed. The blood that was sprayed high into the sky was blown into a blood mist by the wind, pervading the entire army. All of the soldiers who were covered in blood had no signs of life and fell down like rain. Someone beside Sun Jing shouted. Although Sher Sun had disappeared for a few days, and the armor on his body seemed to have changed, but Sun Zheng and the rest could still recognize Sher Senator. No one would have thought that Sher Sun would betray them. In name, Sher Sun was the commander of the 36th Army. Although everyone did not take him seriously, but the commander position in name was not something that anyone could obtain. The dragon-shaped light screen suddenly exploded into countless of irregular blade auras. Mixed with the destructive power of the airwave, they flew out in all directions. The dragon-shaped light screen, formed from the energy of the 46 men, contained a surprising amount of power. The forward momentum was like a thunderbolt. Any soldiers that were swept by the light screen would spit out blood as they screamed and flew out fiercely. Everyone was shocked by the terrifying scene. At the front of the troops, there were only a few people left because they were lucky they did not even get hit by an origin mark box. But all of their faces were filled with shock. Their lips trembled. Their faces were as white as paper. They had already lost their last bit of fighting spirit. If it was any other time, how could a weak army like the 36th Army support them? They would definitely scoff at it. They would not care. But at the moment, they had just experienced a cruel and heavy injury. Any bit of support would make them feel better. Tang Tian's attacks were like a torrential downpour, and the number of light swallows around Sun Jia became lesser and lesser. The adjutant's heart dropped. He did not feel any uneasy energy undulations and shouted, "Rush over." Sher Sin's eyes were ice cold. Without any warmth, his white and short beard was like steel wire. The wrinkles that had been polished by wind and frost. His expression was stern and stern, the ice blue transparent. Evening Snow Ocean, in his hand, suddenly slashed downwards. A fist struck his back, and at the same time, a cold intent drilled into his body. The underworld continent's demonic mounts did not slow down and calmly rushed out of the enemy's formation. Suddenly, someone screamed out in panic. Enemy attack. There are enemies behind us. 600 blade auras from the back of the troops rushed into the formation without any fancy moves. They had never seen such bronze boxes before and thought that it was a mechanical technique from the Gold Continent. They knew that the crux of the battle was time, and the bronze boxes were just used by the enemy to disrupt them. The adjutant shuddered and hurriedly turned his head to look back. A fully armed squad had silently appeared behind them at an unknown time and was only 1,000 feet away from them. The 45 Underworld Continent demonic mounts behind him roared in unison, their black wind blades slashing out. No matter what, we cannot let him escape. Before he finished speaking, Shursen's small team all raised the black wind blades in their hands. Chapter 590. Tang Tian was angered by them. I just wanted to ask, do you guys have any use for this thing? Tang Tian had an experienced expression as he told Shursen, it is rather useful. The ice blue tree branch was sparkling and translucent, like a blue crystal. Tang Tian carried Sun Jie's corpse and landed on the ground. He was filled with passion for battle, but towards a one-sided massacre, he did not have much interest. Sun Jie was already the youngest silver saint in the vast star continent, and Master Meng Nan, who was even younger than Sun Jie, was a monstrous existence. Why do we have to save? Tang Tian was puzzled. Shursen and the rest only had 46 men, and their disadvantage in numbers was revealed at this time. Thinking about that, their spirits were roused, and they ran for their lives. They were all elites, and had their own ways to deal with the enemy's pursuit. They all tacitly split up and ran in all directions. As for which direction the enemy would choose, it was up to the heavens. What kind of personality do these people have? Strenuous, tangled up, it's too annoying. I must find a time to beat all of you up. Origin mark box? Tang Tian did not expect Shursen to fancy it, and immediately became pleased. It was something that he had spent a lot of effort to create and was lying in the corner of the Aquarius. To have someone fancy it, he was extremely happy, and without hesitation, he threw a wooden box to Shursen. Here, everyone can have a few. Shursen recovered from the shock. Such a high-quality item, to be able to personally witness it, was already rare. He was speechless at the master's rather useful. The Azure Ice Spear. How could it not be useful? The other Underworld Continent demonic mounts all looked at Shursen with hidden bitterness. They could not wait to snatch the wooden box from Shursen's hands. Their boss was truly honest and still wanted to push it back. The other box was not sold, and Tang Tian was unhappy. He did not notice their pained expressions and suddenly slapped his forehead. That's right. This thing is rather useful. Although Sun Jie was not known for his bravery, but he was still a silver saint and died in the hands of the master. In the entire battle, the master did not use any tricks and killed Sun Jie openly. That was enough to prove the master's strength, the silver saint realm. When he noticed the remaining soldiers fleeing, he shouted to Shursen, "Don't chase them." Ice, Empyrean ice tree, spears. They had never heard of such a ferocious elite, and they were even hiding in the 36th Army? Isn't that a weak army? Swoosh, the Underworld Continent's demonic mounts by the side looked over, wishing that their boss could beat them up. 2 chests, that meant that each of them had at least 12, with 12 such killing weapons. They dared to kill their way into the vast star continent. The might of the origin mark box had shocked him. If they were to encounter it, he did not have the confidence to retreat. Could it be the Gold Continent's newest invention? If he were to stay any longer with this bunch of people who were not straightforward, he would be angered to death. Tang Tian angrily turned around and left. He took out an Empyrean tree branch. Everyone was shocked by Tang Tian's anger. Tang Tian had already established his prestige in this battle. Everyone shouted in unison, "It worked! To be entangled with you bunch of people, how can I not think things through?" Shursen seemed to have awoken from a dream. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty. He shook his head. "1 chest is enough? It's enough. This chest has 300 of them. The origin mark box is very simple to use. You just have to throw it out. Inside it are fragments of laws, and every box has different laws, but the might is all about the same, but it took me a lot of effort." Tang Tian said happily. Seeing that Shursen did not speak, Tang Tian immediately became anxious. "It is truly useful. If you don't believe me, you can try it." The demonic mounts were completely speechless. Wasn't that obvious? How could the Empyrean ice tree spears be useless? Who would dare say that the Empyrean ice tree spears were useless? Wasn't it hard to find one spear in the market? Even if they were to sell all of them, they would not be able to exchange for one. So how could such a thing be useless? Awkward silence. The bundles of Empyrean ice tree branches smashed onto the ground, causing dust to fly up. The clear and crisp sound of the Empyrean ice tree branches hitting the ground made it seem as though time had stopped. Shursen's gaze was stunned. He stammered, "Ice, Empyrean ice tree spear." Shursen was dumbstruck. The power of the item was so strong. It must be extremely expensive. He only wanted to ask Tang Tian for a few, but who knew that Tang Tian would actually throw him chest? Who exactly are these old fellows? A bundle that was half the height of a human, and a chest. The demonic mounts by the side all had faces of pain. Some of them were pulling their hair, some of them were covering their faces, some of them were slapping their heads. Which nerve did their boss go wrong? Thinking about the origin mark box that was missing by half, their hearts ached. In this day and age, regardless of what it was, as long as it was related to laws, it would be extremely expensive. After understanding what an origin mark box was, Shursen felt that the wooden chest in his hands was extremely heavy. Everyone's mouths were wide open. They looked at the bundle of Empyrean ice tree branches in front of them in a daze. Their breathing stopped. Their thoughts stopped. Tang Tian scolded in his heart. His face was filled with anger. He immediately took out a bundle of Empyrean ice tree branches from his silver Aquarius cabinet and fiercely threw it on the ground. "Split it among yourselves." This battle could be said to be fought to his heart's content. The might of the new equipment was undoubtedly displayed in this battle. If it was in the past, to achieve such an impressive result, their casualties would definitely be more than half. Hearing that, Shursen stopped his pursuit. The number of survivors was extremely few, only a few tens of them. The underworld continent's demonic mounts respected the strong the most. Shursen's subordinates had personally witnessed the battle and were completely convinced by Tang Tian. Shursen's mouth could not help but reveal a smile. These brothers had followed him for so many years, and he did not wish for them to have any grudges. Loss. And in this battle, Shursen finally understood how powerful Master Meng Nan was. Plop, plop. Everyone's legs turned soft like noodles. They fell to the ground on their butts, their faces filled with fear. Regardless of whether it was the grasp of timing, the usage of attack methods, or the energy synchronization rate, they had all reached an astonishing level. The future is long. Master, raising an army costs a lot, Shursen advised earnestly. He was used to being poor and knew that it was not easy. If not for their equipment being so poor in the past, their losses would not have been so high. In the legends, the blue dwarves had the strongest weapon, the blue ice spear. It was the symbol of a high-level blue dwarf, and was the symbol of the blue dwarf's status and identity, a top-quality spear that was hard to find in the market. For the first time, Shursen experienced the benefits of hugging onto a thick thigh. He looked at Sun Jie, who was in Master Meng Nan's hands. A look of pity flashed past his eyes. Such an outstanding military general did not die on the battlefield, but died in a one-on-one battle. It was truly a pity. Sun Jie's death became the last straw that broke the camel's back. The entire battlefield completely collapsed, although there were still some officers who tried to organize the soldiers. But Shursen's underworld continent's demonic mounts attacks, always at the crucial moment, smashed their plans. After a few more officers were killed, no one else dared to do such foolish things anymore. The successive situations caused the already somewhat irritable Tang Tian to be completely enraged. Is there any use? This conclusion caused Shursen to be shocked. If it was used properly, it would definitely be a sharp weapon. Similarly, the underworld continent's demonic mounts were also speechless. A few of them looked at Tang Tian in anger. Was Master Meng Nan mocking them? Enough, enough. Shursen nodded his head foolishly. Why do I feel so weak in my legs? It seems like the sky is spinning. Master, can you give this subordinate one of the bronze boxes? The soldiers of the 8th Army who were still alive all had fear in their eyes. The opponent only had 46 men, but they were completely defeated. Many of them were filled with grief and indignation. If the master was still here, they would definitely be able to kill the opponent. But they also knew that the opponent was extremely strong, far stronger than they had imagined. Is it really enough? Tang Tian advised patiently. I have a lot of these things. A few of the quick-witted people thought that Sher Sun might be a powerhouse that had intentionally planted a spy in the vast star continent. That seemed to be the most logical explanation. If they were to spread this news, they should be able to redeem themselves. He caught it clumsily. His mind was still in a daze. Happiness came too suddenly. Unless, Tang Tian waved his hand. It's fine, although I do not have much money, but I still have a lot of these things. I still have a box. Do you want it? Sher Sun was an honest man. Upon hearing that, he became even more anxious. Such an expensive item. If he wasted it, he would definitely not be able to forgive himself. He did not know how to reject the master. He was anxious, his face flushed red. He shook his head and subconsciously said, I won't try. I won't try. I definitely won't try. Sher Sun quivered and immediately said, Master, we don't need so much. Such expensive things should be used sparingly. At that moment, the demonic mounts, who were extremely envious, were also dumbstruck. They were all veterans in the army and had dealt with equipment countless of times, and knew what was good and what was expensive. They were extremely clear. These things were definitely not cheap. One box was enough to shock them, and hearing that the master said he still had another box. If it was an ordinary army, even if they did not have the master lead them, it would be a fool's dream to think that 40-odd people could shake them. Even the other two famous armies in the vast star continent would not be able to do that. One of the demonic mounts could not take it anymore, and advised, Master, we have naturally heard of the might of these Empyrean ice tree spears. If we were to use them to experiment, it would be too much of a waste. 300, they did not even have 50 people, so each of them could at least have 6. Such a huge killing weapon. For each of them to carry 6, everyone immediately felt that their backs were as hard as steel. Everyone looked at the wooden box in Sher Sun's hands, their eyes blazing with passion. Oh my God, could it be that we have truly hugged onto a golden thigh this time? The battle had already ended. Other than the few that escaped, Sun Zheng and his group were all captured alive. Compared to the elites of the 8th Army, the weaklings of the 36th Army were lacking in terms of escaping. When a few underworld continent demonic mounts appeared in front of them, they immediately chose to surrender. The surrounding underworld continent demonic mounts, whose faces were filled with pain, froze. All of their gazes were fixated on the Empyrean ice tree branches in Tang Tian's hands, and could not move away. One bundle. Chapter 591. Really? Tang Tian asked again, being scolded mercilessly. In front of him, Wang Juanxian, Shi Yong, and the rest lowered their heads like obedient students. They were not the least bit unconvinced. Master Bing was a famed general, and to be able to receive their scolding, it was a supreme honor. All of them replied at once, causing Bing to have the urge to facepalm, as expected of a motley crew. But whatever goes into the pot, Bing did not ask for much, and impatiently waved his hand. Go. From now on. Tang Tian, who felt that he had successfully proven that he did not have money, was in a good mood, one must know, to convince all of them. The difficulty was definitely higher than a battlefield. Tang Tian was already lazy to speak. Bang, he threw out an Empyrean ice tree branches, half the height of a person. Bang, he threw out another Empyrean ice tree branches, half the height of a person. The Shan continent did not suffer any damage, causing Wang Juanxian and the rest to heave a sigh of relief. Master cannot prove it. Sher Sun had I am calm. Please be calm expression on his face. After being stunned for a few minutes, Sher Sun mechanically turned his face, revealing an expression that was uglier than crying. Master, I am not sure now whether they are worth money or not. Bullshit. This training plan is a pile of bullshit. Tang Tian was completely speechless. He stared at Sher Sun, unable to speak for a long time. So Tang Tian, who had won the war, was naturally happy. Bing waved his hand, his killing intent soaring. 32% synchronization rate. Is that a joke? Master, this does not require much money. The current market for underworld continent demonic mounts is not high. They are very cheap, 2 million cloud coins. We can definitely recruit one. This subordinate knows where to recruit real demonic mounts. We just need to recruit 60 more. No, 50 more, even 30 will do. After a period of time, our fighting strength will definitely. Shur-san advised bitterly. Shur-san had already regained his senses. He was used to being poor, and suddenly being rich made him feel uncomfortable. Now that he had returned to the starting point, he felt an indescribable sense of relief. But everyone knew the commotion this time was too big, and the vast star continent would definitely not let it go. The attack that followed would definitely be extremely fierce, and everyone was filled with worry. Worry was worry, but at this point, there was no room for retreat. Conscripting commoners, 10 out of 10 returned to 1. Now that the 8th Army had been destroyed, it was not strange for the vast star continent to massacre the Shan continent to vent their anger. Just thinking about managing a territory gave him a headache, and the thing he was least afraid of was war. Tang Tian was very unhappy with Shur-sen's stare, and he forcefully repeated the fact that he had no money. You people are so annoying. The young man has long been annoyed with the matter of making money. Okay? After thinking for a long time, he still had no clue. He was already annoyed enough. Hey, what do you mean by that expression? That dull face. Is he mocking me for being poor? The 36th Army was originally a weak army. The standards of the soldiers were low, and when Shur-san was in charge in the past, his daily training was rather tight, but after Sun Zheng made him a mere figurehead, the entire army became rotten. Their will to fight was very weak, and with Sun Zheng and Shur-sen's appearance, these fellows all surrendered. Bing decided to find Crazy Tang to discuss the next step of the plan. Just as he walked out of the room, he heard Crazy Tang's roar. When Shur-san heard this, he almost vomited blood. He stared at Tang Tian in a daze, thinking that he had heard wrongly. But he never thought that the master would actually say that he had no money. It is extremely valuable. Shur-san replied with certainty. He patted Shur-sen's shoulder and consoled him with sincere and heartfelt words. Don't be discouraged. We are still in the initial stage. Although we are poor now, everything will get better in the future. The group of people scattered like birds. Calm down, I have to calm down. No money. He felt that his suggestion was in the bag. The current underworld continent's demonic mounts in the market were hard to differentiate, and their reputation was bad, causing their prices to shrink. To a tyrant like Master Meng Nan, this bit of expenditure was not even comparable to the equipment on their bodies. I have no money. I told you, I have no money. Tang Tian was furious. This group of people was so annoying. It was too cruel, since war was unavoidable. Then he had to think of ways to increase his own strength. He was extremely confident in Master Meng Nan, because he understood the power of money. Tang Tian's fingers grabbed randomly in the air. He stared with his mouth wide open. He felt that he was going crazy. Definitely. Shur-san was determined. In truth, he was not surprised. The master had built the Black Castle here, and that was already a clue. Shur-sen's expression was uglier than crying. The origin mark box that contained law fragments was a box. The Empyrean Ice Tree Spear that was the strongest weapon of the Blue Dwarves was a bundle. Master Meng Nan's wealth was so immense that even the vast star continent, which was known for its commerce, could not contend against him. But wasn't the savage continent known for its backwardness? Seems like the rumors were not to be trusted. He was also a man who was never satisfied, and his current situation was much better than before. Evening Snow Ocean, Black Wind Blade, Winged Armor, Origin Mark Box, fake Empyrean Ice Tree Spear, etc. All of these were things that he did not even dare to think about in the past. He had already begun to expand his army. He swept a glance at the 36th Army, and only took 2 people and left. The 2 of them were recommended by Shur-san. Their standards were not bad. They were honest and upright, and Sun Zheng did not like them, but after being inspected them, they were truly capable. I will definitely train to death. You said that thing is worth a lot of money? Tang Tian suddenly asked. Sun Zheng and the rest surrender made the following battles extremely easy. Yes, whatever Master says is true. An honest man with a stubborn heart. Sun was completely confused. No money? Does that word have anything to do with you, Master? How can you say that word out of Master's mouth? Master, are you really not joking? Why do you look so innocent and angry? The Empyrean Ice Tree Spear is such a valuable weapon. For Master to be able to take out a bundle of them, it is impossible that you do not have money. Sun gave out sufficient evidence. If he could replenish some of the underworld continent's demonic mounts, adding the luxurious equipment, Sun was extremely confident in the upcoming battle. Weak army strength? No problem. The weak army had their own ways of fighting. No one was clearer than him about the ways of fighting a war, as it was something he was most proficient in. The bundle of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears had shocked Sun, and he spent the entire night digesting it. He thought that he would not lose his composure like yesterday, but the reality was actually so cruel. On the other hand, the precious Bright Village Regiment, although the strength of the members were ordinary, but they trained diligently, and their attitude was rather proper. In this battle, the underworld continent's demonic mounts that he led were in the limelight. But very quickly, he calmed down from the joy of victory. Sun Jie's death and the destruction of the Eighth Army would cause a huge uproar in the vast star continent, and he was very clear. Tang Tian clenched his teeth. How do you want me to prove that I do not have money? Tang Tian looked at Sun with a face of disbelief. Are you sure that they are truly valuable? His suggestion was rejected by Master without hesitation. Bundles of Empyrean Ice Tree branches that were half the height of a human piled up into a small hill. Tang Tian's heart was filled with understanding. Every time a tycoon's dreams were shattered, it would be like that. But in his eyes, the training plan was truly amateurish, although Wang Juanxian was diligent. But his standard was truly lacking. All right, he was diligent enough and was in charge of training. If he had to personally do the simple and boring daily training, Bing felt that he would definitely go crazy. Furthermore, the trust that the Lord had in them was the most precious thing. The Empyrean Ice Tree Spears, in Sun's eyes, were simply divine weapons. Such a divine weapon, for one to appear, was already very rare for a bundle to appear. For few bundles. The scene in front of him was extremely unreal, to the point that Sun felt that his own dreams would definitely not appear in front of him. He thought about it. The problem of money was truly something that needed to be solved. He walked in front of Sun and said, "Why not? You bring a few things to sell, and see what sells well, for example, the Black Wind Blade. We have a lot of these things. You guys are experienced, your numbers are small, your targets are small, you guys are nimble, you guys could be the front line. Running around for business. Originally, you guys should not be doing it, but now that you have the manpower, I can only let you guys down. But you have to be fast. The vast star continent will react very quickly." I knew it. How could this thing be valuable? From the start, Tang Tian did not believe that this thing would be valuable. The Sea of Light, the Empyrean Ice Tree branches were densely packed. It was so lush that it made people's hair stand on end. It would be weird if it was valuable. Everyone in the Red Grass Planet understood this point. Some of them chose to escape, while others decided to stay, and were placed in the Black Castle. Luckily, the Black Castle was built to be big, and was just enough to accommodate all of them. That was the only good thing about it. Sun felt that he had made a mistake. This thing was not an Empyrean Ice Tree Spear. It just looked like it. That was the only logical thing. Do you want to fight? That's enough. This is life. Uncle Tang Tian sighed and left contentedly. The strength of the vast star continent was something that the Shang continent was unable to contend against. Sun nodded his head and said resolutely, "Once the samples are prepared, we will immediately set off." He silently cursed in his heart. What kind of moral conduct is this? Bing, who came out and saw the scene, was also filled with sympathy for Senator Bing was also helpless. He realized that when he spoke to them nicely, they would have a face of fear and unease, and instead scolded them, which made them look like they were enjoying it. Different from the rest who were filled with worry, Bing, the old fox of the army, was extremely excited. From today onwards, All other training content will be canceled and only train on one, synchronization. I only want synchronization, and 50% is the lowest standard. From today onwards, train to your death. Bang, bang, bang. If the Empyrean Ice Tree Spear was truly valuable, then the problem of money would be solved, and they could directly sell the tree branches. In Tang Tian's heart, the bundles of tree branches were no different from firewood. He had initially advised the master to leave the Shan continent, and to temporarily avoid the danger was the wisest choice. The vast star continent was strong, but even in the southern region, there were a few continents that were not weaker than them. Sun took a deep breath and said sincerely, "Master, if you have anything against me, please say it. Please do not use such words to fool this subordinate. It is truly too hurtful." Chapter 592. In the end, the person who traveled with Sun was Tang Tian, but the problem was in choosing the samples. When choosing the samples, Bing was dumbstruck. The things on Tang Tian's body were piled up like a mountain, and there were many different types. All of them were strange. What should I choose? He asked Sun, but Sun had a look of helplessness. Sun had never seen these things before, much less appraised their value. With the Black Castle as the center, 12 tall towers extended outwards, and using the Treasure City's technology, they shared and sorted out the energy, forming a gigantic stronghold. Crazy Tang was so angry that he cried out. He was extremely dissatisfied with his training plan being interrupted. "But Bing's, you're the boss. If you don't think of something, who will?" Made Tang Tian swallow his words. Without hesitation, he started to push forward the Sword Forest stronghold plan, as he had sufficient manpower. But at the same time, Shun Rong and Xia, and the two old men of the 36 armies, finally calculated the budget for the upcoming war. Even if the manpower and fighting strength were free, but the expenditure on food, medicine, training necessities, etc., was still as high as 120 million cloud coins. The light belt had a diameter of about 500 m, formed by extremely fine flowing light, like a flowing river of light. The other end extended deep into the sky. The rest understood, and the entire group spread out, like a huge bird spreading its wings. The scouts on the two wings would occasionally rush forward and scan the surroundings. "What else is there?" Tang Tian blurted out. "Danger," Sun explained. "There are some chaotic energy flows that are as large as stars. If you do not fly close, you will be swallowed by them. Those are still fine, as they're easier to discover, but the most terrifying ones are some special chaotic energy flows. These chaotic energy flows are extremely dangerous, but they are concealed and mixed in with other chaotic flows. It is not easy to detect. If you were to bump into them, you can only blame it on your bad luck." When the entire void was filled with such chaotic flows, the scene was magnificent, causing Tang Tian to be completely stunned. After a long while, he regained his senses and praised, "So magnificent." Recovering his body after a battle was a huge expenditure. "Yes," Sun nodded his head. "That is why it is best to ride on a boat. The defense of a boat is better and safer. Even a merchant ship is much safer. Nowadays, there are very few people who can fly across the sea. There's a certain degree of danger." Tang Tian was having a lot of fun. Having just comprehended resilience, he was extremely fascinated by this technique. He tried out different forces and variations. The boring journey had become his training. Persevering in training, there would always be results. Tang Tian's dry pull, the explosive sound, was much smaller than before. Bing judged that the vast star continent's movements would not be so fast. The vast star continent situation was delicate, and with Sun Jie's destruction, it made others not dare to underestimate their strength, and would be suspicious of their background. After entering the light belt, Sun immediately reminded, "Sir, fly upwards." What was this phenomenon? The corrosive energy seemed to be pushed 3 feet away from Tang Tian's body by an invisible force, unable to advance any further. A blank space formed around Tang Tian. "Let's go, this road is not short." Sun reminded and took the lead. "Is this the estuary?" Tang Tian was completely captivated by the light belt in front of him and was filled with curiosity. At the moment, the energy around them had become extremely dense, and the light aura of the light belt had become somewhat dazzling. Sure Sun and the rest all activated their energy barriers, and when their gazes landed on Tang Tian, they were immediately stunned by the scene around Tang Tian. Rise? Estuary? What is that? Tang Tian was startled. But not long after, Tang Tian regained his vigor. Star door. Sure Sun tried it out and roughly understood what it meant. He shook his head. The southern region does not have star doors. This subordinate has never heard of one. Or can there be one? Could it be a new technique developed by the savage continent? They were of different colors and were very colorful. Sure Sun was relatively calm. He was too lazy to think about it because he realized that no matter how he thought, he could not understand. In the past, he had to make the decisions for the entire group and felt that it was extremely tiring, but now he only needed to listen to orders and did not need to think about it. Compared to Tang Tian's vast and powerful aura, Sure Sin's underworld continent's demonic mounts were extremely quiet, like a group of black bats quietly flying across the sky. The underworld continent's demonic mounts' outstanding individual strength and tactical discipline were displayed without a doubt. No one was talking to them, and they maintained an oppressive silence. We need to buy a ship in the future, Tang Tian said resolutely. He suddenly thought of a question and asked curiously, if we return, how do we find Red Grass Planet? Before Tang Tian could reply, a light belt entered his vision, causing Tang Tian to be startled. Sea of energy? Don't tell me you are not a star door? Tang Tian was surprised. At that time, Red Grass Planet would become an unbreakable stronghold planet. 25 kilometers in the air, Tang Tian had never tried to fly so high before. In the past, he could only fly above the clouds. Hearing that, Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Isn't that impossible to guard against? Sure Sun and the rest who were experienced and knowledgeable, upon seeing that, they could not help but be stunned. This period of buffer time was extremely important to the Shan continent, as he had more important things to do. I have never heard of it before. Let's go, let's go. Tang Tian could not wait any longer. What made him happy was that there was air in the void. Bing wanted to find Crane to give him advice, but seeing that Crane was training fervently, he did not have the heart to disturb him. Ling Su and Jing Hao were also training fervently. Everyone had been stimulated by the previous failure. After flying for a long time, Sure Sun suddenly said, Master, we need to ascend in front, to the estuary. Continuously climbing to a height of 25 kilometers, even for Tang Tian, who was a monster with physical strength, he felt that it was unbearable. Sure Sun and the rest were not any better. All of their faces revealed signs of fatigue. The energy required to ascend vertically was many times that of flying normally. He did not care about Master Meng Nan's background. As long as there was air, his dry pull would be useful. The lack of money had become the most important problem. Tang Tian finally understood what Sure Sun meant by the sea of energy. Pa pa pa. Tang Tian stepped on the air shield, shouting as he rushed forward, leaving behind a series of explosions in the air. All right, who asked me to be the boss? Tang Tian hung his head dejectedly and followed Sure Senator. Hearing that, a look of excitement flashed past Sure Sen's eyes. He had always desired to own a warship, but no matter how small a warship was, it was not something he could afford. Every time they flew out of the sea of energy, their bodies would be corroded by it. If the corrosion was not handled well, it would easily become a hidden injury that was hard to recover from. Warship. Tang Tian was once again attracted by another new term, the sea map and the energy pole needle. Sure Sun continued. Later on, when we fly out, Master will realize that the estuary is very obvious. The Red Grass Planet's estuary is not considered big, but as long as we enter a range of 25 kilometers, it will be easy to find. Bing quickly thought of a way to settle things once and for all. He might as well send Tang Tian along with Sure Sun, and threw a sentence to Crazy Tang, and then left irresponsibly. Sure Sun explained, Once we leave the estuary, we will reach the sea of energy. The sea of energy is a boundless and boundless energy and contains many impurities, which has a strong corrosive effect, and without strength, you will not be able to go out to sea. If the distance is too far, then you'll have to take a boat, and these boats will have strong martial artists that will take turns to block the corrosion. Warships are specially used to fight across the sea and are very powerful. Some warships can hold an entire army and can greatly increase the strength of an army. Hearing that, Sure Sun knew that Master Ming Nan had never been to the Sea of Energy before, and reminded him, it is not only spectacular. The group of them headed deeper into the Sea of Energy. So powerful, Tang Tian's eyes lit up. We will have money to buy warships. Sure Sun was surprised. Master did not even know about the estuary. Could the savage continent be different from the southern region? He explained, we need to ascend to a height of 25 kilometers, pass through the estuary, and enter the Sea of Energy. Bing tried to deduce it a few times and realized that to break through such a stronghold, the price needed to be paid was extremely high. According to Sai Lei's calculations, if the stronghold was completed, they would be able to control a quarter of the energy in the entire red grass planet, and that was enough for them to hold the advantage. Sai Lei named the stronghold as Sword Forest Stronghold, and calculated that if the number of pagoda strongholds reached 36, due to the overlapping effects, they would be able to control the energy in the entire red grass planet. Whoosh! Tang Tian felt as though he had broken through an invisible barrier. Suddenly, the dazzling light aura dimmed, and his vision became clear again. The space in front of him was filled with an endless chaotic flow of energy. It was extremely dense. All of these chaotic energy flows did not have any pattern. Some formed whirlpools, some swam like a school of fish, some dragged long light tails like shooting stars, some formed light spots, floating indefinitely. Good. Tang Tian was eager to give it a try. Stepping on the air shield, he pulled out bit by bit. His speed was extremely fast, and in a moment, he left everyone behind. The advantage of pulling out horizontally was far less than the advantage of pulling out vertically. Ah Lung and the rest were even more respectful. The current day's martial techniques were all monopolized by the big families. They had never seen Master Ming Nan's technique before, but it was definitely not ordinary. Sure Sun looked at it, then retracted his gaze. He looked at his members and bellowed, maintain the formation, be careful. Through Wang Zhuanxian, the other two planets of the Shan continent had already started to evacuate their citizens, and those who were not willing to leave the Shan continent brought their families to the Black Stronghold. Although it was only a part of the Shan continent, but the population of the Black Stronghold quickly reached 60,000. The Black Stronghold was unable to accommodate such a large population, and with Sai Lei's help, the concept of a stronghold was brought up. Bing could only find a local merchant through Wang Zhuanxian, but the merchant shook his head. He had never seen it before, so how would he dare to give a price? The higher they flew, the thicker the light belt became. It was as though they were flying up a large pipe. As a famous general, when Bing saw Sai Lei's plan, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Yes. Sure Sun then knew that the master had never seen the estuary before. He looked at the light belt and sighed. Luckily, the estuary is too small, and the warships are unable to enter. If not, we would truly be in trouble. Seems like Master rarely goes out. Chapter 593. Outside the tent, the energy turbulence crashed into the tent, but the tent did not move at all. Without the corrosion of the chaotic energy flow, everyone could finally relax. Everyone began to repair their own bodies. Tang Tian didn't need to repair himself, but he was exhausted. In 3 more days, I will reach the White Sands continent. At that time, I will definitely take a good look around. Qin Yu Ran stretched her waist. Her voluptuous body was like a blossoming flower. Adding on her lazy expression, she was extremely flirtatious. This was called the spherical chain tent. With the silver ball as the fulcrum, the tent was formed by an energy curtain. Shursun noticed the worry on Tang Tian's face and couldn't help but ask, Sir, do you have any worries? They would rest here for 10 hours before setting off again. Without the ball chain tent, there was no rest in the Sea of Energy, only death awaited them. Tang Tian was drooling. Previously, he had no idea what a warship was. Now that he had seen it with his own eyes, he knew how powerful a warship was. A battleship was traveling quickly in the sea of energy. The few of them injected their energy into the metal spheres at the same time, and the metal spheres lit up with silver light at the same time. Silver light beams shot out from the silver spheres at the same time. The light beams connected with each other, and the connected light beams formed a frame. Then, a light screen lit up on the surface of the frame. Curtains of light rose one after another, forming a complete enclosed space. Everyone sat on the ground and consciously maintained a defensive formation. Tang Tian was protected in the middle. The underworld continent's demonic mounts seized the time to recover their strength, and the surroundings became quiet. Seeing that Sher Sun and the others had a good attitude, the manager's expression became much better. If you need anything, you can come to me directly. I'm in room 13 in front. A steward brought them to a cabin, and after settling them down, he said, "There's only the cargo hold left, so you'll have to bear with it for now. Please do not wander about. 3 days later, we will reach the White Sands continent." The rarity of gold saints in Heaven's Road, and whether or not there were any left, no one knew. However, such battleships were not rare in the sanctuary. Suddenly, someone barged in and reported, "Miss, there's a spherical chain tent ahead. The other party wishes to board the boat." The enclosed ball chain tent was a quiet haven. The howling of the chaotic energy flow outside disappeared. No one spoke. Rest time was precious. The longer the ball chain tent lasted, the more it consumed. If the energy in the silver ball was used up, the tent would disappear. Soon, a voice was heard. "Master, please board the ship." "Thank you, noble lord." Sher Sun expressed his gratitude. They quickly put away the spherical chain tent and floated towards the warship. "I'm not afraid of bandits." Qin Yuran waved her snow-white fists, her face filled with excitement. "It would be best if they're bandits. That way Xiao Bai can beat them until they piss in their pants. I can't say for sure. This depends on luck. Some people are worried about safety, while others find it troublesome. However, this is a battleship, so the guards are probably very strong. The other party definitely isn't afraid of us being bandits." Sher Sun shook his head. He turned to the others and said, "Everyone, put away all your unsightly things. Tell me everything you know." Tang Tian didn't care too much. For example, the main forces. It doesn't matter if it's not too detailed. "All right," Sher Sun quickly agreed. "Please represent us to express our gratitude to the noble lord again." Apart from that, he also borrowed the power of the laws. "No way." Annie Chio stared at Qin Yuran. "This performance is the most important performance of the year. In the various continents of the southern region, more than half of the aristocratic families will be here. If there are any slip-ups in the performance, it will be a huge blow to young Miss Reputation. The selection is about to begin, and at this time, your reputation is the most important. You cannot be careless." It was the first time Tang Tian had seen such a thick energy barrier. It was at least 10 m thick, causing Tang Tian to be speechless. A person in front of such a battleship was insignificant. Is this the legendary Gold Saint? Inside the ball chain tent, Tang Tian had a look of curiosity. "Will they agree to let us board the ship?" "Young miss, we still need to rehearse." The middle-aged lady by the side immediately reminded him. She was surnamed Chio, and everyone called her Annie Chio. She was also Qin Yuran's manager. The rest signaled for them to get ready. It was a gigantic object that was over 200 m tall and a mobile stronghold, causing Tang Tian's heart to palpitate. The Sacred Saint Galaxy truly has its own unique points. To actually be able to create such a terrifying big fellow, an energy barrier that was more than 10 m thick, it left a deep impression on Tang Tian. He could not imagine what kind of attack was able to pierce through such a thick energy barrier. Inside the ball chain tent, everyone felt the pressure on them lessen and sat down. "Merchants?" Baishao did not deny it, and spoke to Qin Yuran and Annie Chio. "They don't look like bandits." Auntie Chio muttered, "Since they don't look like bandits, then let them board. It will be convenient. and form good karma. Qin Yu ran, and Annie Chio turned to look at Bai Xiao, who nodded his head. Send the images over. How much does such a battleship cost? Tang Tian suddenly asked. Sure Sun and the rest were already used to it, and no one complained about being tired. Sure Sun was surprised. He did not expect Tang Tian to throw out such a huge question, and replied cautiously. This subordinate does not know much. His tone was calm, but filled with confidence. Honorable Martial Continent. Those 3 words immediately caused the hair on Tang Tian's body to stand. He exclaimed out loud, his eyes suddenly flashing with a cold glint. Auntie Chio scolded. How can a girl speak such vulgarities? His gaze sized up the gigantic battleship. The battleship was over 200 m long and was made up of 10 m long red wooden planks that were pieced together. Shursan said that it was a type of wood called red bloodwood, which was extremely valuable and had outstanding defense. There were pavilions and buildings on the battleship, with figures moving about. The entire battleship was enveloped by a layer of thick energy barrier. Shursun looked around. There were no dangerous energy flows around, and it was a good place to set up camp. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, and then spread out, with each of them holding a silver metal ball. Qin Yu Ran retracted her head and stuck out her tongue. In many matters, Tang Tian was muddle-headed, but when it came to battles, Tang Tian's beast-like, sharp intuition would reveal itself. He was extremely sensitive to energy, and could clearly sense that the energy in the entire battleship was one, and he did not dare imagine that when the battleship roared, it would erupt with a terrifying might. Tang Tian thought for a long time, and felt that there were only 2 methods. Not everyone could rest. The 5 underworld continents' demonic mounts sat at 5 different corners. The silver balls behind them were connected to an extremely fine light thread, and at the other end of the light thread, there were a few flat light bladders, swaying along with the chaotic energy flow. These light bladders were extremely sensitive and were used to detect the dangerous and hidden chaotic energy flows in the sea of energy. The first method was to use an even more powerful and concentrated energy to attack. Tang Tian guessed that the battleship definitely had a similar method of attack. The energy barrier of the battleship suddenly revealed a 3 m wide circular passage, and Sure Sun led the way in. Upon boarding the battleship, Tang Tian could truly feel the majesty of the battleship. His face was filled with shock. Heaven's Road had never seen such a huge battle mechanism before. Qin Yu Ran pouted. Her eyes drooped like a frosted eggplant. Advancing in the sea of energy was extremely difficult. His body rejected the energy. That meant that the sea of energy was also rejecting his body, and the resistance he faced was much greater than the rest. Every step was extremely difficult, and his physical strength was being consumed quickly. Thank you, Qin Yu Ran said pitifully. Just 1 rehearsal should be enough. Sure Sun laughed bitterly. I don't know. It is this subordinate's first time riding on such a high-grade battleship. It will definitely be a sky-high price. This was a stronghold that could move. Tang Tian laughed bitterly. The feeling of stepping on solid ground was extremely wonderful. Everyone sat down. The cabin that was arranged for them was the cargo hold. There were no beds or tables, but everyone was satisfied. The energy inside the battleship was abundant, and they did not need to constantly defend against the chaotic energy flow. The power of laws was a higher level of power, and in theory, no matter how much energy was used to form an energy barrier, it would be unable to block the power of laws. But Tang Tian was very clear that in order to break open such a thick energy barrier, one's comprehension of the laws would probably have to reach an extremely shocking level. They say they're merchants and are heading towards the White Sands continent. His subordinate immediately said. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Tang Tian sat down and gasped for breath. His improvement was obvious. After continuously moving forward, his physical strength had been tempered. Activate. Yes. Bai Xiao laughed. Aunt Chio, relax. I will keep an eye on them. So it's like that. Sure Sun somewhat understood. Thinking about the master's lack of common sense, It seemed like the master had never left the house before. He thought for a moment and said, "Then this subordinate will casually say it." The sacred Saint Galaxy is divided into north, south, east, and west, and we are currently in the southern region, which is the most flourishing and has the strongest commerce. The southern region has many strong people, and no one is especially strong, but the southern region's business atmosphere is good, and there are fewer battles between them. Master's hometown, the Savage Continent, is in the northern region and is the biggest powerhouse in the northern region. The Savage Continent is just a general name. There are many continents below it, and they seem to be fighting amongst themselves, which Master might know better. The strongest in the eastern region is the Gold Continent. They specialize in mechanisms, and the entire eastern region is influenced by them, where mechanisms are prevalent. And the strongest in the western region is the Honorable Martial Continent. Stronghold. A light screen lit up on the wall, and a spherical chain tint appeared on the light screen. Bai Xiao looked at it carefully and was surprised. That is a very standard military practice. Where did they come from? Bai Xiao laughed out loud. A look of admiration flashed past Bai Xiao's eyes, and he laughed. The White Sands continent is the southern region's business center. To walk around at once, young miss will need some time. The most famous business street there is called the White Sands Lower Street. It is a first-class flourishing place and is one of the 16 golden streets of the Sacred Saint Galaxy. That's it. The situation in the Sacred Saint Galaxy? Get ready. Alung shouted. Qin Yuran was excited. Wah wah, I want to go. It is a little troublesome. Tang Tian scratched his head. Feeling helpless, he suddenly said, Old Sure, tell me about the situation in the Sacred Saint Galaxy. Everyone took off their armor and kept their black wind blades. Chapter 594. Pirates. Sure Sun noticed Tang Tian's glance and said calmly, The pirates in the Sea of Energy have always been active. The chaotic energy flow gives them the best cover. I'm afraid the size of this pirate fleet isn't small. They have at least 10 warships and 1 warship. Tang Tian nodded and didn't say anything else. Tell everyone to keep their spirits up, Lien Bo Jun said solemnly, his eyes flickering with a cold glint. Young Master Bai Xiao is not someone that can be easily dealt with. The underworld continent's demonic mounts familiarly found their own battle positions, although they had never boarded such a high-grade warship before, but they were proficient in ordinary warships. The entire battlefield was shrouded in a tidal wave of whooshing sounds. All other sounds were completely suppressed. The cannonball of energy couldn't even cross half the field. Sir, please take a seat. Sure Sun guided Tang Tian. The handle on the chair is a mechanism. My lord does not need to input energy. You only need to control the direction. My lord, you must be careful not to activate too much energy, otherwise it will overload your body. Boom, boom, boom. Xiao, xiao, xiao. A large swarm of sword auras, a swarm of hornets, pounced towards the ball of light. Seeing that Tang Tian was deep in thought, Sure Sun did not disturb him. He closed his eyes to recover his strength. On the Black Dragon warship, the deputy suddenly held his head with both hands and exclaimed in disbelief, My God, what's that? Lien Bo Jun did not even turn his head and said, Don't think about it. I am prepared to exchange her for money. Sure enough, there was a knot. Sure Sun confirmed his conjecture and did not make a fuss. Who didn't have a few enemies these days? But the enemy is the Honorable Martial Continent. That is truly something. After sighing for a while, Sure Sun was a little expectant. Could it be that Sir was going to the Western region in the future? Sure Sun and all of the Underworld Continent's demonic mounts were dumbstruck. It was the first time they had seen someone use the honeycomb sword cannon to the point of self-destruction. Their bombardment was actually suppressed. Sure Sun's reaction was the fastest. Without saying a word, he pulled one of his brothers down from his seat and pushed Tang Tian forward. Sir, try this. That doesn't sound very good, Tang Tian muttered. Even the light of the chaotic energy flow couldn't cover the light of the simultaneous bombardment from more than 10 warships. The shockingly powerful energy cannons drew beautiful arcs of light. Like raindrops, they bombarded the warship. When he was designing the honeycomb sword cannon, He had never thought that there would be a day where it would be able to withstand such a surging amount of energy. Tang Tian's body trembled. The surging energy instantly filled up the honeycomb sword cannon, and the overjoyed Tang Tian fired again without hesitation. Inside the Bloodwood warship, Bai Shao stood up. His handsome and refined face had a warm smile. He turned and looked at the panicking Qin Yuran. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." The honeycomb sword cannon that had exceeded its limits was blown to pieces. Lian Bo-jun was roused. Bai Shao had made his move. Suddenly, the ship trembled violently, and a sharp and ear-piercing alarm rang out. Among the dozen battleships, a black battleship was the most eye-catching. It was more than a kilometer long, making it look like a black beast king. Clusters of dazzling energy rose from it like raindrops and pounced toward the lone red battleship on the other side. The surging energy from the warship continuously poured into the sword on Tang Tian's back, causing the sword blade to light up with a dazzling light aura, releasing a buzzing sound. Tang Tian anxiously jumped onto the seat and held onto the handle. The timing was even more coincidental. Tang Tian did not have the time to sigh. He suddenly realized that a dazzling light regiment was flying towards him at an astonishing speed. The intense explosion caused the hull of the warship to tilt and sway continuously, causing the goods in the cargo hold to fall from the containers and scatter all over the floor, causing the dim lights in the cargo hold to flicker. This subordinate only knows that much, Shi Sun said. He looked at his master, who had a gloomy expression, and muttered in his heart, "Seems like the hatred is not small." Thus he added, "Master, if you're interested in the Honorable Marshall Continent, we can go to the White Sands Continent, and Master can purchase some information about the Honorable Marshall Continent, which will be more detailed. Everyone is interested in the rise of the Honorable Marshall Continent, and many people are doing research on it." Shi Sun did not expect that. He had finally boarded a warship and thought that his journey would be smooth, but he did not expect to meet with pirates. He looked calm on the surface, but his heart was filled with worry. In such a large-scale battle, a single person's strength would not be of much use. This excited and eager fellow. Doesn't Master know that the situation is dangerous? In the captain's room of the warship, Lian Bo-jun observed the battlefield. The opponent's warship was swaying under the rain of fire, and the prey was unable to escape from his grasp. The Honorable Marshall Continent was actually the overlord of the Sacred Saint Galaxy, and that was not good news for them. The overlord of the Sacred Saint Galaxy definitely had many armies and warships. Hearing that, Tang Tian knew that the Honorable Marshall Continent was the target he was looking for. Lian Bo-jun's tone did not have any fluctuations. Bai Shao has not fought yet. Shi Sun perspired in cold sweat. Master is actually so warlike. The godlike young lad is not that kind of person. The inside of the warship was in chaos. Bang! Pay, pay, pay. He turned his head and followed his assistant's gaze, and was startled. Although it was not as direct as usual, but the scene in front of him still caused Tang Tian's blood to boil. Tang Tian, who had succeeded in his attack, was completely excited. He had completely entered a berserk state. He roared and roared while frantically activating the honeycomb sword cannon. The scalp-numbing sound of the cannon continued like a torrential rain. Tang Tian realized that the protective barrier in front of him had become transparent, allowing him to see the battlefield outside even more clearly. The dazzling light bullets exploded into flames. It was a spectacular sight. It truly is not good. Shi Sun was experienced. Unless the warship has an entire army, from the frequency of the cannons, the warship's defense is not strong enough. He looked at the master and stopped in his tracks. Pervert! It was Shi Sun's first time boarding the Bloodwood warship, and he did not know the positions of the weapons on board. Luckily for them, they were lucky enough to meet the manager who had brought them on board, and upon hearing that they were willing to help, the manager immediately brought them to a battle zone. Tang Tian spat out the metal fragments in his mouth and rushed out from the smoke and scolded, "Who made the cannon? So useless." "But how can I help?" Tang Tian was somewhat anxious. He planned to bring the master and escape the moment the situation turned bad. To escape in such a situation, there was nothing to be ashamed of. The sword auras pulled out a continuous light scar in the air. Sure Sun, who was beside Tang Tian, was completely dumbstruck. He had never seen anyone who could activate the honeycomb sword cannon like that. The energy load could not be seen on the master's body. The light auras from the explosions would occasionally break the darkness. Lien Bo Jun stared blankly at the frantically spewing sword auras. He was stunned. How many honeycomb sword cannons did they install? Tang Tian curiously sized up the weapons in front of him. Around a seat, there were many densely packed swords floating. The number of swords was astonishing. There were at least 100 of them, and they were like a school of fish, gathering and scattering, floating slowly. To him, the energy load did not affect him at all. The surging energy was like a tide that flowed endlessly into the honeycomb sword cannon. The sword auras that flew out from his back did not stop at all. They were endless. One after another, dazzling sword auras flew out from his back at an astonishing speed. When the sword auras flew out of the light screen, the sword auras were over 5 m long. Suddenly, the honeycomb sword cannon in front of him exploded into pieces, the smoke enveloping Tang Tian's figure. Sure Sun was shocked. Master! Lien Bo Jun was familiar with the spewing light aura. It was the attack of the honeycomb sword cannon. He was extremely familiar with the weapon. It was easy to control. The frequency of the attack was high, and the speed of the sword auras was astonishing. It was an outstanding weapon, but it had a flaw. It placed a huge burden on the gunner, and after every round of attack, the gunner had to rest for more than 10 seconds. Xiao. Bai Xiao walked out. Bai Xiao alone is unable to turn the situation around. The adjutant was unsure. "We struck it big this time." His adjutant was extremely excited. "A Bloodwood warship, and Qin Yu ran? I heard that Qin Yu Ran's beauty is unparalleled, boss." Tang Tian was truly excited. He had never experienced a warship battle before. The dazzling light auras, the deafening explosions, made all the battles that Tang Tian had participated in seem weak. Sensing his fighting intent, the honeycomb sword cannon behind him became even more dazzling. Sure Sun said, "I'll leave this honeycomb sword cannon to master." A few of the warships that were nearer were struck by the light auras, with splinters flying everywhere, and they retreated in panic. The cargo hold was quiet. Under the dim lights, the underworld continent's demonic mounts were like statues. Tang Tian laid on the ground without a care for his image, relaxing his body, but his mind could not stop. The light swords continued to strike the energy regiment, causing the surface of the energy regiment to form ripples. And after enduring over 10 of the swords, it exploded into a regiment of flames. As for artificially nurturing spirits, the Sacred Saint Galaxy did not have any martial spirits. The high-energy environment caused the corrosive effect of the energy, and there was no space for spirits to survive. If there was the Temple and the Honorable Martial Alliance, then Tang Tian would not be surprised. The armies of the Ursa major constellation and the armies of the Sacred Saint Galaxy were on completely different levels. Although to Tang Tian, among the same level saints, the Sacred Saint Galaxy was not as strong as Heaven's Road. But a saint was still a saint, and was not something ordinary martial techniques could compare to. He coughed lightly and arranged his thoughts. The Honorable Martial Continent is the strongest continent in the Western region, and they are the new overlords that have risen in the past few hundred years. Especially their martial techniques. They are currently unique, they are extremely meticulous, and have the form of light attribute martial techniques. But what truly allowed them to rise is their research on spirits, and in this aspect, they are ahead of everyone else. They have found a way to artificially nurture spirits and have integrated it into their martial techniques. Although they have not risen for long, but everyone thinks highly of them, and in the past few years, they have already shown signs of unifying the Western region. The long swords floating around him lit up all at once and pointed straight ahead. The battlefield was not big, but it could completely accommodate Tang Tian and the rest. Without Sure Sin's orders, the underworld continent's demonic mounts all stood up, their faces revealing cautious looks. How is the honorable martial continent? Tang Tian asked. The meticulous martial techniques, artificially nurturing spirits, and the time of their rise, all of them matched. As the Sacred Saint Galaxy was filled with energy, they did not need to focus too much on the utilization of energy, and thus allowed the Sacred Saint Galaxy's martial techniques to have a wide and open style. In one of the Bloodwood warships, there were sword auras shooting out crazily. The astonishing number of sword auras whistled like a storm. There were too many of them, to the point that they formed a large screen of swords, frantically sweeping across the battlefield. The energy regiments that were over 3 m in diameter smashed onto the thick energy barrier of the warship, causing dazzling light auras to blossom out from the energy barrier. The piercing white light spots seemed to have enveloped the entire warship. An intense sense of danger enveloped his entire body. Tang Tian was like an exploding rabbit, all of his hairs standing on end. Without thinking, his eyes locked onto the light regiments. That is truly a pity. The adjutant smacked his lips. His face was filled with regret, but he quickly threw the problem to the back of his mind and became even more excited. If it's ransom, we can at least exchange for 2 more Bloodwood warships. Wah wah wah. 1 Black Dragon warship, 3 Bloodwood warships, 10 warships. We will rule the pirate world. Tang Tian's reaction surprised Shi Sun. Could it be that Master Ming Nen has a grudge with the honorable martial continent? Let's go help them, Tang Tian said decisively. They had boarded someone else's ship and received someone else's favor. How could they run away upon encountering danger? What a huge scene. Buzz. His voice seemed to have a calming demonic power, causing the fear in Qin Yu Ran's heart to decrease greatly. That was the word that popped up in everyone's mind. Chapter 595. But a pity, the pirates you have met are not ordinary pirates. Take note to dodge. The light slash brought about an intense rotation, transforming into a ray of white light, flying towards the enemy's fleet. Above their heads, Tang Tian did not even take note of his aim. It was far off, but it makes people look forward to it. After attacking for a long time, only 1 frigate was destroyed, and just as he was about to continue attacking, the spiraling slash machine actually exploded again. He suddenly opened his eyes wide in anger and bellowed, "Kill!" Tang Tian flew into a rage. But no one laughed. For some reason, they had a premonition that their master's following actions would definitely not be normal. Wood splinters flew everywhere. The ship's body that was tougher than steel, in front of the sharp spiraling slash, did not have any resistance. The ship's body quickly left behind many crisscrossing slash marks. Taking the opportunity when the honeycomb sword cannon stopped firing, the pirate fleet quickly pulled apart. 2 regiments of flames blossomed behind it. Most of the pirates had poor equipment and usually relied on numbers to fight. Such intense close-range firepower, if used on the pirates, would definitely be a destructive attack. Dong dong dong. Spiraling slash machine. Shi Sun knew the situation was urgent and spoke quickly. This is the control mechanism. It is the same as the honeycomb sword cannon, just now master. Take note, its load is 3 times that of the honeycomb sword cannon. Lien Bo Jun had already started to think about the practicality of such a tactic. The spiraling slash that was like raindrops brought forth a sharp whistle, piercing into the energy barrier, bringing forth a burst of shattered auras, leaving behind fine traces on the energy barrier. His voice stopped abruptly. He suddenly opened his eyes wide, as though he could not believe his own eyes. All the captains of the frigates screamed out in fear at the same time. The distance of 5 kilometers to the spiraling slash that far surpassed the energy bullets was covered in a blink of an eye. Other than that, although it had a strong penetrative power, it was unable to explode. The 3 m diameter spiraling slash, to a warship that was over 200 m long, was pitifully small. Unless it slashed at a crucial part like the keel, the killing power would be pitiful. Such a majestic and impactful scene, stunned by Xiao. Of course, it had its own weakness, and its energy load was even more astonishing. The so-called energy load, other than the impact on the body, was even more terrifying the resonance effect on the energy in the body. The excessive resonance effect could possibly cause the martial artist to lose control of the energy in his body, resulting in his death. It was a pity that the plan was going to fail. There were too many spiraling blades, and their trajectories were unpredictable. And the other bad thing was that it was hard to aim, especially in the sea of energy. The chaotic energy flow in the sea of energy was extremely disruptive to its flight. Although its range was as high as 10 kilometers, it would often have a clear displacement after 3 kilometers. The assistant had made a mistake in his calculations. There were at least 40 spiraling blades in a team of over 120 people. Only by taking turns could they form such a firepower. The opponent's honeycomb sword cannon had suddenly stopped firing, causing the entire battlefield to sink into a strange silence. The storm of honeycomb sword cannons had shocked everyone. Such intense firepower. There were at least 10 groups of honeycomb sword cannons firing in turns. Sure Sun and the rest stared blankly at Tang Tian, collectively speechless. Although the honeycomb sword cannon's firepower was powerful, it had a fatal weakness, and that was its range. The sword aura released by the honeycomb sword cannon could only reach 3,000 m. That was why it was classified as a close combat weapon. Even the warship's energy barrier was unable to block it, and a person's energy barrier was no stronger than paper in front of it. The first spiraling blade that flew out attracted the attention of Lien Bo Jun, who was on the Black Dragon warship, but the accuracy was too lacking. The spiraling blade was a powerful weapon. Its high speed of rotation was extremely sharp, and even the energy barrier of the warship had difficulty blocking it. Tang Tian's angry roar came out from the dust cloud, his imposing aura surging out from the dust cloud. His face was covered in smoke, his naked upper body was covered in mist, perspiration flowed along his defined muscles that were like steel, making him look like a god of war. The explosion of the pirate warship caused him to wake up, and his expression became even weirder. Wait a minute, on this warship there was only one spiraling blade. Everyone's scalp went numb, although to the hull of the warship, the damage caused by the spiraling blade was limited. But whoever was unlucky enough to be struck by it, the scene of blood would definitely cause them to lose their courage. The few warships that were quietly approaching did not expect that they would encounter such an intense attack. They suffered heavy casualties and had no choice but to retreat to the back to rest, until it suddenly stopped firing, and for some reason, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Boom! It was the first time Lien Bo Jun knew that when the hissing sounds of snakes converged together, it would cause people's scalps to go numb. A distance of 5 kilometers was enough to cause the honeycomb sword cannon to lose its power, and at such a distance, regardless of whether it was his Black Dragon warship or the other warships, they all had many weapons that could be used. Screams and chaos immediately pervaded the battlefield, and the cannoneers who were initially attacking with all their might were now scared witless, rolling down from their seats and sprawling on the ground. The oppressive explosion like thunder, with an astonishing frequency, exploded in everyone's ears, causing their ears to buzz. Another explosion. Another explosion. Asshole! Asshole! Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Rays of light blades swept past. The speed was so fast that they could not catch it with their naked eyes. Tang Tian's body was trembling like a sieve. His eyes were wide open in anger. The muscles all over his body were constantly trembling, but his legs were still firmly nailed to his seat. Swoosh! Lien Bo Jun stared blankly at the quiet battlefield. Asshole! The adjutant also reacted, feeling ashamed. How could he not have thought of such a simple method? As expected of the master, he immediately passed down the order. Lien Bo Jun was very calm. Before the table collapsed, he picked up a cup of water and drank a mouthful, his body not moving an inch. There was no longer a need for the battle to continue. The morale of his side had been struck to the bottom by the ferocious light blades. Tang Tian felt his entire body moving, his body brimming with boundless energy. He licked his lips in front of everyone's eyes. He took off his shirt, holding onto the handle with both hands, squatting down in a horse stance. He was like a nail nailed to the ground, his muscles bulging. First, it was the honeycomb sword cannon, followed by the spiraling blades. Using the human wave tactic, the firepower was maximized. Seems like Qin Yu Ran has an expert by her side. When Young Noble by Xiao opened the cabin door and was prepared to attack, he was shocked by the spiraling blades that covered the sky and covered the earth. The spiraling blades above his head were like a flock of blackbirds. The battlefield was lit up by the spiraling blades' light aura. Since when was the spiraling blades' weak light aura able to light up the battlefield? A muffled sound came out. The powerful impact caused Tang Tian's body to tremble, his eyes suddenly opening wide. The entire battlefield was stunned by the concentrated honeycomb sword cannons. Even the main cannoneers had subconsciously stopped and stared blankly at the crazily spewing tongues of fire. The victory came out of nowhere, and without hesitation, Bai Xiao turned and rushed towards the direction of the spiraling blades. From the corner of his eyes, he saw a frigate that was split into two. The frigate's luck was extremely bad. Its keel was actually struck by 5 spiraling blades. The keel was broken. It could be said to have hit the jackpot. Under the impact of the chaotic energy flow, the hull of the ship was quickly dismembered. The pirates on the ship screamed and escaped, but before they could escape far, sparks exploded and engulfed them. The underworld continent's demonic mounts looked at their master in a daze. The scene in front of them, appearing in such an intense battlefield, was extremely comical. Lien Bo-jun's expression did not change at all. The sparks that lit up caused his face to flicker. CSISI. Duo. It's too hot. Sure Sun was filled with regret. He could not help but remind. Master, pay attention to your aim. Such a weapon. Usually, every warship would be equipped with 1 or 2, but no one had high hopes for it to be of much use. The spiraling blades also had another name, lottery machine. Whether or not it could hit the enemy and how much use it could be was like winning a lottery. It all depended on the will of the heavens. The pirate fleet was quickly retreating. The adjutant's face was devoid of blood. He laid on the ground and roared. Lunatics! This bunch of lunatics! How many lottery machines did they actually install? 20 or 30. Dong, dong, dong. Under Sure Sun and the rest stupefied and numb gazes, bang! The unbearable spiraling blades completely exploded, the rising dust enveloping Tang Tian. Dazzling light auras once again surged out from the opponent's warship. Before he could finish speaking, the arc in front of Tang Tian's seat lit up with a light aura, scaring Sure Sun to the point that he scrambled backwards. No one liked to win the lottery, especially when there were so many of them. Although they knew that the probability of being hit was low, but without any protection, the feeling of being unable to dodge would only cause the fear in their hearts to spread even more. This was quite an interesting modification. Crack, a 3 m diameter circular light aura shot out from the arc at an astonishing speed. Pa! When he turned to look at Tang Tian, his gaze turned sluggish. The master stood up from his seat excitedly. He moved his arms, squatted down, bent his waist, stretched his legs, and muttered, Powerful, truly powerful. Bai Xiao felt that his common sense had been completely overturned. He urgently wanted to know what was happening. The spiraling blades coincidentally clashed with an energy bullet in the air. The energy bullet split into 2 like tofu, and the spiraling blades continued to shoot forward. Just a mere honeycomb sword cannon. And you want to deal with me? You guys are too naive. Lien Bo-jun sneered in his heart, his expression calm and composed. Retreat. Maintain a 5 kilometers distance. One after another, the high-speed, spiraling blades rubbed against the chaotic energy flow, forming sparks, like a flock of white birds that moved as fast as lightning, scattering sparks, flying in a strange trajectory in the air, flocking towards them. Bang! Seems like the honeycomb sword cannon was the opponent's trump card. He shook his head and ordered, All ships are free to attack. Be careful of young noble Bai Xiao. Lien Bo-jun regained his calm. He could not help but ponder over the modification. To him, such a dense concentration of honeycomb sword cannons was definitely a special modification of the opponent's warship. He had to admit, the opponent's modification was extremely suitable. Although the opponent was a warship, but they would not participate in regular battles, and the enemies they dealt with were mostly pirates. What is this? Tang Tian was excited and curious at the same time. His seat was in a flat, circular cabin, and in front of his seat was an arc that was more than 3 m wide. A white light flashed in front of Lien Bo Jun. He did not have time to react. The desk beside him was split into two and fell to the ground. The light aura from the arc instantly became extremely dazzling. Chapter 596. Tang Tian shook his head. Name your price. I don't know how much this thing can sell for. According to his calculations, the dense spiral blades just now were equivalent to the firepower of 40 sets of spiral blades. Looking at the team behind Tang Tian, there were exactly 40 people. They must have some secret method to distribute the energy load to everyone. This way, they could distribute the energy load and achieve such a concentrated attack. Bai Zhao's discovery was something that Qin Yuran had also discovered. She felt that Big Brother Meng Nen was most likely someone who did not care about outside matters. She was used to seeing all kinds of people, and Brother Meng Nan's temperament was innocent and unpretentious, without the slightest bit of slyness, causing her to feel comfortable. Qin Yuran was startled for a moment, then praised. As expected of the name, only such a tyrannical name can match up to Big Brother Meng's unparalleled bravery. Suddenly, the image of the training ground, which was covered with bundles of icy blue tree branches as tall as half a person, appeared before his eyes. 2 million for one, 300, that would be 600 million cloud coins. Thank you, Gongzi and your subordinates, for lending a helping hand and saving Yuran from danger. If I were to fall into the hands of the pirates, my life would be worse than death. Please accept my bow. Qin Yuran bowed, expressing her gratitude, and smiled sweetly. Young noble is such a hero. I have yet to ask for your name. Bai Zhao's eyes opened wide and exclaimed, Empyrean Ice Tree Spear. Law Fragment. It's actually a law fragment. Bai Zhao muttered to himself and suddenly said anxiously, Do you still have this origin mark box? I want them all. Just name your price. Anyway, just be careful. Tang Tian waved his hand. It didn't seem too difficult to earn money. Is there something wrong with the warship? Qin Yuran immediately asked. He smiled and said, Little brother's skills are not very good, but I'm just a miscellaneous character. I know half a bucket of water about everything, but I know a little of everything. 1 box. Tang Tian added, Oh, 1 box only is 300. When Bai Zhao heard this, he threw the origin mark box in his hand out. The bronze box shattered, and a dark red light flashed in the air. What's with the dry mouth and tongue? Origin mark box. Tang Tian told Bai Zhao how to use it. Just throw it out. How much? Bai Zhao was stunned. The kind-hearted Qin Yuran spoke gently. I wonder what Big Brother Meng is selling. Bai Zhao also looked at Tang Tian. He knew that the warship was gifted to Qin Yuran by the Ming Continent's continent lord and was a genuine Bloodwood warship. Why are my legs feeling a little weak? Bai Zhao muttered, 2 million for one. What do you think, Brother Meng? Just now, the earth-shattering spiral slash came from the hands of these people. Even the spiral slash machine was used up. Tang Tian laughed happily, while Qin Yuran, who was watching by the side, was dumbstruck. She was still thinking about how to help Big Brother Meng, but in the blink of an eye, Big Brother Meng earned 600 million cloud coins. Tang Tian took out an origin mark box and gave it to Bai Zhao. What about this? There was a high chance that a certain clan had discovered a brand new metal suitable for forging weapons, and thus began to embark on the path of arms dealers. However, it will be difficult to find a buyer for such a large quantity of weapons without any connections. Law Fragment, Tang Tian explained. Inside every origin mark box, there's a law fragment sealed inside, and its power is not bad. Tang Tian took out the black gold armor. What about this? But, from the other party's reaction, it seemed as though he did not roam the world often, because the other party did not have any reaction to his and Qin Yuran's names. As long as one was slightly knowledgeable, they would have heard of young noble Bai Zhao and soul singer Qin Yuran. There's still one more box, Tang Tian said. Bai Zhao took it and looked at it carefully and was surprised. This is the first time this little brother has seen such a material. The workmanship is excellent, the feel is good, the hardness is very high, the energy load needs to be tested, but I think selling it for 50 to 60,000 cloud coins should not be a problem. Sin was also somewhat impressed. He had been dealing with weapons for many years, and had to admit that Bai Zhao's valuation was extremely accurate. Tang Tian thought about what Bing had said, and took out a black wind blade and handed it over. Qin Yuran took over and said sincerely, "Big Brother Meng is going to the White Sands continent. If there is anything, please come and find this little sister. This little sister will be staying in the White Sands continent for a period of time. This little sister has some connections in the White Sands continent. Big Brother Meng, please do not treat me as an outsider." "What is this?" Bai Xiao sized up the small bronze box in his hands, filled with curiosity. "Good." Tang Tian was overjoyed. He did not expect the origin mark box to be so valuable. But thinking about it, the remnant spirit treasures were not cheap. But since there was a way to earn money, everything else was not a problem. Arms dealer? Bai Zhao's expression did not change, but his heart was shocked. He never thought that he would meet such elites here. From the moment they entered the hall, the 46 of them did not even move a finger. He felt that Yuran's luck was truly good, to be able to meet such an elite team on the road. She was an intelligent person. She was good with money and power. Her thoughts were exquisite. Upon hearing the name, she guessed that it was most likely a fake name, but her face did not reveal any of it. Instead, she took the opportunity to praise Tang Tian. Bai Xiao did not think too much, although she was surprised that Mengnan was not familiar with the market, but came out to do business. She thought that he must be out to gain experience, and happily agreed. No problem. She had decided to buy a few of Big Brother Meng's treasures at a high price, and help Big Brother Meng get through this difficult time. If she was not worried, Big Brother Meng's ego was strong. She was willing to help him. Compared to saving his life, what was money? The other party used a fake name. He must have some misgivings. Walking the Jianghu, such a situation was very common. What a pity. Bai Xiao, who was at the side, had a warm smile on his face. The paper fan in his hand closed, his face full of surprise. Brother Meng's bravery has truly opened Bai Zhao's eyes. In truth, this little brother finally mustered up the courage and was prepared to fight to the death with the pirates. I pushed open the cabin door, but in the end, I saw the spiraling slash that covered the sky, and that bit of courage immediately disappeared without a trace. Until now, this little brother's legs are still weak. Bai Xiao also thought that Tang Tian was using a fake name. And what business? How could he have elite bodyguards? Bai Xiao had traveled the world and had seen countless of famous armies, and the 40 elite bodyguards in front of him were definitely the elites of the elites. He had to remind them, when they were training, they had experimented. 10 people's energy were injected into the black wind blade at the same time, but the black wind blade did not break. Bai Xiao was surprised, but immediately felt that it was natural. If they were arms dealers, it would not be strange to have such elite bodyguards. It was his first time seeing such a black gold weapon, and seeing Tang Tian's newbie performance, he understood. Tang Tian spoke earnestly to the two of them. For war equipment like warships, it must be of high quality. You must find someone who knows, and check it properly. If you are careless during normal times in battle, it will most likely become a fatal flaw. Bai Xiao suddenly stood up, his face filled with disbelief. Just now, that was only 300 pieces. Bai Xiao looked at Tang Tian as though he was looking at a monster. After a long while, he then mocked himself. Please don't use such words that this little brother can't take it. Where did you get so many law fragments from? The cooked duck flew away. The meat that was in his mouth was gone. The young man was not happy. They are truly elites. Bai Xiao was moved. Then the price will have to be doubled, at least 100,000 cloud coins. A pity there is no blade intent. If there was blade intent, then the price would be a different matter. After saying that, he immediately realized and apologized. Sorry. This one did not have the intention to inquire. Brother Meng, name a price. This little brother wants all of this chest. Tang Tian took the money card. The purple color money card was noble and elegant. It was already 600 million. How could it not be noble and elegant? His heart was thumping so hard. What was going on? Tang Tian did not say a word. He angrily poured water into his mouth, flask after flask. Behind him, Sure Sun led the underworld continent's demonic mounts and stood there quietly like 46 statues. Tang Tian was furious in his heart. The warship's workmanship was truly terrible. It had been destroyed twice. How could it still be used? Hey, how can a war equipment be made so crudely? Qin Yu Ran and Bai Shao looked at each other. They had decided that once they reached the White Sands continent, they would conduct a complete overhaul of the warship. The underworld continent's demonic mounts behind Tang Tian, who were like statues from the start, all trembled. A few of their breathing became hurried. All of them had 6 in their hands. Oh my God, doesn't that mean they have 12 million cloud coins? No need to be polite. I am Mengnan. Tang Tian was gloomy, a wild beast roaring in his heart. The young man was not happy. Not happy. The young man was not happy. Oh, recently money has been tight. We need to go sell some things. Tang Tian did not hide anything. Bai Shao and Qin Yuran were startled by Tang Tian's sudden warning. Bai Shao quickly displayed his young master character. How could he be called a young master if he lacked money? Without saying a word, he took out a money card and gave it to Tang Tian. This nameless money card has 600 million cloud coins, Brother Meng. Please take a look. Bai Shao flipped it over and over, injecting energy into it. After inspecting it for a long time, he raised his head and said with a confident tone, "My teacher in the academy is called Joseph. In the past 10 years, he is the only grandmaster who has ever published a thesis on the Empyrean ice tree spears. And I was fortunate enough to participate in his experiments. I can say responsibly that this is the Empyrean ice tree spear, a genuine Empyrean ice tree spear." Bai Shao tested it and said, "It is well made. The price is slightly more expensive than the blade and can be sold for 150,000 cloud coins." Bai Shao and Qin Yuran were surprised. Mengnan's expression did not seem to be fake. Could he really be a businessman? Qin Yuran had an additional thought. She noticed the first half of Tang Tian's sentence. Money is a little tight, and immediately formed an image in her mind of a family that was in dire straits, and a young master who had not been involved in worldly affairs for a long time, under the accompaniment of a loyal bodyguard, sold his family's treasures to tide through the crisis. Tang Tian took out an Empyrean ice tree branch and gave it to Bai Shao. "What about this?" His eyes darkened, and he fainted. Qin Yuran confirmed the guess in her heart. Sure Sun was immediately comforted. Finally, I am not the only one who admitted my mistake. Even the powerful Bai Shao admitted his mistake. He could not help but cough lightly and reminded Mengnan proudly, "Young Master Bai, please take a closer look. Although this is similar to the Empyrean ice tree spear, but it is not the Empyrean ice tree spear." Sure Sun's smile froze on his face. He was dumbstruck. Sure Sun, who was by the side, spoke out proudly. "This blade can withstand the combined strength of 10 people." Tang Tian felt that the 2 people in front of him were very experienced, and immediately became happy. "Can I trouble the 2 of you to help me take a look and see which items are more valuable?" Chapter 597. Tang Tian made up his mind. When he reached White Sands continent, he would definitely go to the shipyard to order a few warships. Pa. Tang Tian suddenly asked, "Old Sure, how much does one warship cost?" In between words, he was probing the origins of the Empyrean ice tree spears. It was the first time that so many Empyrean ice tree spears had appeared, and he was extremely interested in Mengnan's background. "All right," Tang Tian happily agreed. He believed that the master would not have any problems with recruiting people. One underworld continent demonic mounts only required 2 million cloud coins. 10 of them were 20 million, 10 of them were 200 million, and 500 of them were only 1 billion. Bai Zhao's expression was serious. "When we reach White Sands continent, I will ask my family to send the money over. I hope that Brother Meng can leave some for this little brother." Upon lying down, the tiredness was like a tide, drowning Tang Tian. In the battle, his body had suffered from the continuous energy attacks, and his physical strength was greatly depleted. He was overly excited during the battle and did not feel anything. Now that he was resting, he could not hold on any longer and fell into a deep sleep. Although quantity can cause qualitative change, but qualitative change will always be stronger than quantity. Bai Xiao immediately understood and was surprised. Could it be that Brother Ming still has more? Qin Yu Ran's eyes moved. Brother Bai, don't fight with this little sister. 20 million. This little sister can have another treasure. His body actually became stronger again. Most of them are, Bai Xiao said, but there are too many of them. And there will be a few that have gained intelligence, and they call it awakening. The awakened blue dwarves are extremely intelligent, and if they are willing to pledge loyalty to the blue oceans, they will immediately obtain a high position. But there are also many awakened blue dwarves who have their own thoughts and live together. The current culture of the blue dwarves has many origins from these different species. When Tang Tian woke up, his entire body felt extremely comfortable, and he subconsciously stretched his body. Tang Tian kept the Empyrean ice tree spears and chatted for a while. Seeing that Qin Yu Ran was tired, everyone dispersed. When he woke up, he felt that the world was truly fair, and a strong sense of superiority surfaced in his heart. If Bai Xiao knew that the master's Empyrean ice tree spears could cover the entire training grounds, what expression would he have? In his deep sleep, Tang Tian's breathing was long and drawn out. His body rose and fell rhythmically. In the blue world, only high-level blue dwarves who are loyal to Blue Ocean have the qualifications to wield the Empyrean ice tree spear. However, after the intense ecstasy, after Shi's sun calmed down, was it because he was too shocked that he became numb? Bai Xiao said solemnly. He had once come into contact with the Empyrean ice tree spear and knew its power like the back of his hand. Gray flames suddenly emerged from his skin and burned silently. The energy of the day kept attacking, and a small part of the impurities inevitably rushed into his body. With the burning of the null flames, the impurities and the energy were quickly destroyed. One invasive gaze, it was shockingly powerful. Bai Xiao laughed bitterly in his heart. I still have 800 million cloud coins. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He suddenly realized the zero-energy body and the warship were a perfect match. If the warship was filled with zero-energy bodies, how strong would their fighting strength be? He calmed his heart and began to immerse himself in his cultivation. Qin Yu Ran was surprised. I thought they were all stupid and did not have any intelligence. Isn't this a very good way to cultivate? A bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears that were half the height of a human. Isn't this a perfect match? Without waiting for Bai Xiao to speak, Tang Tian waved his hand and said generously, I'll gift this to you. No problem. Tang Tian picked out 110 spears and placed them in front of Bai Xiao. At the same time, he opened his palm. He looked at Tang Tian reluctantly as he once again bundled up the Empyrean ice tree spears. The 100 Empyrean ice tree spears only caused the bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears to lose a small portion. Are there only blue dwarves in the blue world? Are they very big? Qin Yu Ran asked curiously. It was dead silence. After a moment, Bai Xiao laughed bitterly. Brother Ming truly lives up to his name, too ferocious. I am even suspecting that you guys have ransacked the blue dwarf's city. The null flames became smaller and smaller until it disappeared. Fundamental martial techniques were the best standard. He was too familiar with them, and any minute changes would not escape his eyes. Through the fundamental martial techniques, he could clearly feel the changes in his body. No problem. Tang Tian waved his hand and said generously, the feeling of being rich was truly different. It truly is worth a lot of money. Bai Xiao nodded his head. It has two uses. One is for research. The other is to refine the blue poison. If it is auctioned, this spear should be worth more than 10 million cloud coins. It is extremely vast. They have their own city and their own culture. Bai Xiao said, the blue dwarves race is much bigger than what we can imagine. What we have seen is just the tip of the iceberg. The main body of the blue world is spread throughout the void, and through the void, their tentacles reach out to the various continents, and that is why the blue tide appears everywhere. Before he finished speaking, bang, a bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears landed in front of Bai Xiao. The dust that was stirred up had the smell of cloud coins. Yesterday, he had frantically controlled the weapons on the warship, and his body was constantly enduring the impact of the energy load. The impact of the energy load was not a good feeling, but at that time, he was too excited and forcefully used the strength in his body and endured the strong energy load. Tang Tian jumped up from his bed, pushed open the door, and after asking for the location of the training grounds, he walked over. For a combat unit like the Bloodwood warship, it usually required a long period of time to travel in the sea of energy, and the training grounds were necessary facilities. The strength of the crew members directly affected the might of the warship. He knew how much it was sought after in the market. Tang Tian naturally did not return to the cargo hold, so Annie Chio specially prepared the best room for Tang Tian and his group to stay in. I don't know. Sun revealed a look of shock. Such a high-grade thing. This subordinate has never come into contact with it before. But the White Sands continent has a specialized shipyard. Master can go and ask. All right, I have truly hugged a golden thigh this time. The null flames coiled around his fists, and as he waved it, he carefully experienced every change in the null flames. Heaven has pity on me. To be able to use the word only in a billion, that feels great. Using martial techniques as an example, a gunner with profound attainments in sword techniques could control the honeycomb sword cannon and could greatly increase the might of the honeycomb sword cannon. A true expert could even control a honeycomb sword cannon and destroy a warship. Bai Xiao happily placed the money card into Tang Tian's hands and laughed bitterly. When money is needed, you will only regret it. Today, I have experienced it. Bai Xiao was even more surprised, but immediately became overjoyed. Brother Ming, however much you have, I want it all. Thinking about the warships that covered the sky, the dense artillery fire that was like rain, suppressing the enemies to the point that they could not even raise their heads. Tang Tian immediately became excited. How to display the advantage of the zero-energy body had always been the biggest headache for Ursa Major Constellation. If this plan was truly successful, then the disparity in strength between Ursa Major Constellation and the Sacred Saint Galaxy would be greatly reduced. Are you sure? Tang Tian's face became suspicious. Tang Tian had never seen the equipment in the training grounds before, but after following Bing for so long, he had seen all sorts of strange equipment and quickly grasped the usage of the equipment. Only a perverse person like Tang Tian would start training on the second day after the battle. How much money do you have? Tang Tian stared at Bai Xiao and asked directly, his hands already untying the Empyrean ice tree spears. After thinking about the details of what happened yesterday, he quickly understood the situation. Completely ignoring Qin Yu Ran's surprised face, he turned and asked Bai Xiao, "Do you really want to buy it?" Seeing that Tang Tian had earned one. For a billion in the blink of an eye, Qin Yu Ran was happy and disappointed at the same time. She was happy that Big Brother Ming Nan had money, but disappointed because she was unable to help. She secretly noted down the matter. When they reach White Sands continent, maybe she could help Big Brother Ming. Big Brother Bai knows a lot. Qin Yu Ran's face was filled with worship. She pointed to the Empyrean ice tree spears. Then aren't the Empyrean ice tree spears worth a lot of money? Master shouldn't object, right? He should. I'm so nervous. What do I do? The Empyrean ice tree spears are a special product of the blue dwarves. They are birthed from the blue sea and are formed from energy crystals. Its most unique aspect is that it contains a type of energy poison. We call it the blue poison. This energy poison has yet to be discovered in other places. It is able to quickly corrode energy. The speed is fast. The poison is tyrannical. It is shocking. From the looks of it, although the energy burden would cause a certain amount of damage to the body, but to the zero-energy body, it was extremely beneficial. He practiced the fundamental martial techniques for a while. This was his warm-up. She had the heart to help Big Brother Meng Nan. Although her family was not considered rich, but she could still take out 20 million. Although she knew that Big Brother Meng Nan had just earned 600 million and did not lack 20 million, but she still wanted to express her feelings. The debt of saving her life was as heavy as a mountain. Upon returning to the room, Sun immediately spoke up. Master, the plan to replenish the underworld continent's demonic mounts. Having just experienced an extremely dangerous battle, everyone was physically and mentally exhausted. Bai Zhao's heart jumped. Could it be that he truly had a lot? But upon thinking about the money card in his pocket, he no longer had any misgivings, but he was still cautious. If it is a lot, then we can't use the auction price. 8 million cloud coins for one. How about that? Sure Sen's face revealed a look of ecstasy. After so many years, it was the first time that his team was able to replenish with new blood. Bai Xiao was dumbstruck. His eyes stared straight at the densely packed Empyrean ice tree spears, his expression sluggish. No problem. Look for me when you have money. Tang Tian patted his chest, feeling very heroic. And it can even help the zero energy body evolve. Become stronger. Replenish 500 men. That means I can have 45 more men. As reserves, I'll do it like that. But for now, I need to properly digest my gains. A series of explosions came out from his body, causing him to jump in fright. He immediately inspected his body carefully, and in the next moment, his face revealed a look of joy. Although it was just a trace, but the slight strengthening was not easy. Warship. I must definitely buy a warship. Qin Yuran covered her mouth with both hands. She could not believe her own eyes. Tang Tian yawned and said unclearly, "Let's rest. 8 million for one, 10 for 80 million, 10 for 800 million. 100. The first customer. I'll gift you 10. Tang Tian muttered to himself. Pushing open the training grounds, there was no one inside. After experiencing the battle yesterday, everyone needed to rest, regardless of whether it was their bodies or their minds. They all needed a rest. How many do you need? Tang Tian asked. After calming himself down, he sat down and started to think. The improvement of the body was not without reason. After thinking about it, the only possible reason was the battle yesterday. Chapter 598. Bai Xiao was suddenly enlightened and praised. Yuran still sees things clearly. This foolish brother has been blinded. Whoa, so many people. Tang Tian looked at the densely packed people below and was speechless. He was at a loss, but suddenly he understood. That was what he needed to think and clarify. He was filled with gratitude towards Meng Nan. If not for Meng Nan, he would have thought that he was living a carefree life. But in truth, he was living a muddle-headed life. I never thought that I would actually see the real underworld continent's demonic mounts here. When Qin Yuran walked out of the warship, the crowd outside immediately exploded. Tang Tian scratched his chin. He felt that pulling magic flute to earn money was a good idea. In the battle yesterday, he should have been the one who was the most tired, but why did he seem to be fine? Could it be that in his eyes, the battle was not even worth mentioning? These fellows are too perverse. How can such coordination be done? Thus, the scene in front of them happened. Qin Yuran was hailed as the singer who uses her soul to sing. And in the sacred Saint Galaxy's 10,000 continents, she had an extremely high reputation. Wherever she went, she would be enthusiastically chased after by all the influential people of the various continents. Tang Tian laughed out loud. Don't worry, you can have as many as you want. What do I really want to do? And at this time, Big Brother Meng Nan actually ran to the training grounds. Because I have something I want to do. Qin Yuran opened her eyes. It was warm and soft. The air was filled with her favorite incense. The bedroom was quiet and serene, as though it was a lifetime ago. She stretched lazily, got out of bed, washed up, and leisurely started to eat her breakfast and drink her tea. Hearing the servant chattering about how Big Brother Meng Nan had gone to the training grounds early in the morning, she was startled and subconsciously put down the pastries in her hands. Qin Yuran became even more curious. She did not disturb the others and went over. Through the glass, she could see the entire training grounds and immediately realized it was the group of bodyguards under Big Brother Meng Nan. Qin Yuran covered her mouth. She almost cried out. She never thought that Big Brother Meng Nan would actually do such a thing. Her heart was filled with worry. How could the proud and arrogant Bai Xiao endure such humiliation? With Sure Sun and the others attracting attention, Tang Tian's cultivation was not as conspicuous. She was very surprised. She definitely didn't want to recall the battle yesterday. At that time, the despair and fear almost occupied her body and mind, making her unable to struggle. Tang Tian rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, I was wondering why this scene was so familiar. Isn't this what Magic Flute usually does? Sigh, we can pull Magic Flute over to perform. It must be very popular. I wonder if we can earn money. Moreover, this boss was very nice to them. Tang Tian cultivated for a full 4 hours before he stopped and prepared to return to his room to take a shower. Upon leaving the training grounds, he met Bai Xiao and Qin Yuran. Bai Xiao laughed. Brother Meng is truly hard-working. No wonder you are so powerful. This little brother admires you. Miss Qin seems to be very popular. Shursan said through the window. Bai Xiao was left. His face was green and red. Suddenly, his heart was filled with shame. He was born of a noble background. His talent was astonishing, and at such a young age he had already made a name for himself. Traveling the world, making friends, talking loudly and boastfully, he had always been content with his leisurely life. Everyone was full of praises for him, and everyone said that his future was boundless. Very quickly, the warship docked at the pier, and the commotion outside came out. He was both admiring and envious of Meng Nan, admiring his fighting spirit and diligence, but envious that Meng Nan was already very clear of his own goal, the intense fighting spirit and fighting intent that assaulted his face. He could clearly feel the intense desire that could not be concealed beneath his perspiration. Qin Yuran's eyes lit up. Magic Flute? After she finished her breakfast, she anxiously walked towards the training grounds. When she reached the training grounds, she realized that it was filled with people. She was filled with gratitude towards Bai Xiao, to be able to stand up for him in the face of danger. This was something that not many people could do. She did not want to see the two of them become enemies, and being friends was the best. Big Brother Bai Xiao had many connections and was also shrewd. With his help, Big Brother Meng Nan would definitely earn a lot of money. This word was obviously related to music. The people following him were all old soldiers. All of them were proud and arrogant, and similarly could not tolerate it, and strongly requested for the daily training to increase the intensity. This request was unanimously agreed upon by everyone. The true Underworld Continent's demonic mounts are brave and good at fighting, persevering and indomitable. With strict discipline, skilled in battle formations, they are the strongest elite soldiers in the world, and were once the king of soldiers. Bai Xiao stared at Shursan and the rest, who were sweating profusely, and praised. Furthermore, all of them are old soldiers with at least 10 years of experience. The only regretful thing is they are no longer young. If they were 10 years younger, just based on these 46 men, they would definitely be a force that cannot be ignored. Qin Yuran decided to take a look. Qin Yuran secretly noted it down in her heart. She tidied up her clothes and smiled sweetly at Tang Tian. Big Brother Meng, I'll be leaving first. Tang Tian patted Bai Xiao's shoulder and advised, Xiao Bai, you have to be serious too. Perspiration will not lie. I'm going to take a bath. But Meng Nan's words were simple and unadorned, but it was like a huge bell, causing him to be deeply shaken. A person stronger than him had told him not to waste time. Perspiration will not lie. Who exactly are they? Bai Xiao was startled and said, maybe they're used to it. Habits formed from being in the army for a long time are not something that can be changed in a day or two. I have seen those old soldiers, and some of them will maintain the habit of training until they can no longer train anymore. Qin Yuran then noticed that Shursan's white hair was drenched in perspiration and could not bear it. Why are they still training so hard? They're already so old. And Xiao Bai, the true Underworld Continent's demonic mounts? Qin Yuran pondered over his words. The Underworld Continent's demonic mounts have truly declined for a long time, and the current Underworld Continent's demonic mounts in the market, 9 out of 10 are fake, and not even one is real. Even among the Underworld Continent's locals, there are not many who are willing to participate in the demonic mount test. But these people are the true Underworld Continent's demonic mounts. Bai Xiao said solemnly. Shursan thought even more. Since the master had already agreed to replenish them with new blood, then they had to make preparations early, It had been a long time since they had such a complete group. Bai Zhao's voice sounded out beside her, filled with emotions and surprise, and Qin Yu ran, then realized that unknowingly, Bai Xiao had also arrived beside her. But she was attracted by Bai Zhao's words. Underworld continent's demonic mounts? You mean the underworld continent's demonic mounts? Seeing that, Bai Xiao had already made arrangements. Qin Yu ran, calmed down. Big brother Meng, are you really not coming with us? Qin Yu ran, stared at Tang Tian with her beautiful eyes, her face pleading. Miss, we are going out. Aunt Xiao reminded. The other underworld continent demonic mounts were also ashamed. It was fine if they were not as strong as the master, but to not even be as hard-working as the master, they truly deserved to die. And in the battle yesterday, it was completely the master who fought alone, and they did not have much use. To the self-proclaimed elites of the underworld continent's demonic mounts, to obtain safety under the protection of their boss, there was nothing more humiliating than that. He then pointed out, Brother Meng's background truly makes one curious. An origin mark box that I have never heard of before, and such an astonishing number of Empyrean ice tree spears, and the bodyguard by your side are actually real underworld continent's demonic mounts. I am afraid that Brother Meng's family is even more astonishing than what I imagined. What a high synchronization rate. It definitely exceeds 80%. Oh my God, what did I see? Bai Xiao was startled. He never thought that Tang Tian would actually say such words. But Tang Tian's expression was extremely serious, and he could clearly feel that it was his true thoughts. Bai Xiao was obviously more thoughtful. He laughed. Brother Meng likes peace and quiet. Then I won't force it. I've already booked a room for you guys at the White Sand Hotel. You guys can directly go there and stay. Brother Meng, please don't blame me for being a busybody. I am still thinking about the Empyrean ice tree spears in Brother Meng's hands. Please leave one for me. Bai Zhao's heart trembled. Could it be that other than that bundle, he still had more in stock? Suddenly, he was filled with suspicion towards his own purchasing power. He had already sent a letter to his mentor and decided to contact a few more families and buy all the Empyrean ice tree spears. On the same day, the White Sands Continent's fleet who had received the news personally came to receive them, and when the Bloodwood warship arrived at the White Sands Continent, it received a warm welcome. But at the moment, all of the elites were filled with shock, as though they had seen a ghost, and would occasionally exclaim out in surprise. Shursen's heart became ruthless. If in the future, Boss had to be at the front of every battle, then what was the use of them? Fighting was already the only thing that the group of old fellows could do. They definitely could not fall to such a state. Bai Zhao's face gradually calmed down. He raised his head and laughed bitterly. I am not as good as Brother Meng. When Shursen woke up and knew that Tang Tian was training, he was extremely ashamed. Since when did the leader train and his subordinates slack off? Such a laughable thing. How could it happen to the elites of the underworld continent's demonic mounts? Tang Tian was not humble at all and nodded his head. Of course, because I want to become even more powerful, I still have many things to do and cannot waste time. Without saying a word, they all rushed to the training grounds and started to train. Surrounding them were the bodyguards of the fleet. They were all hired by Aunt Xiao for a high price, and all of them had at least 5 years of military experience. They were adept in battle formations. Their individual strengths were outstanding and were the elites of their respective continents. Qin Yu Ran laughed sweetly. Big Brother Bai Xiao has helped me a lot. It was not only her. Even Bai Xiao was under immense pressure, and it could be seen from the fact that he had not woken up yet. All of the elite bodyguards that were hired for a high price were also dispirited. Qin Yu Ran looked at Bai Xiao, then retracted her gaze. What has it got to do with us? I only know that Big Brother Meng saved my life, and if that is the case, being friends is better than being enemies. Not going. Tang Tian shook his head. I want to go buy things. Training grounds? Chapter 599. Shursen was moved, but his face did not show it, and only nodded his head. All right. Following the manager's introduction, the dazzling array of weapons on the shelves caused Tang Tian to be dazzled. Compared to the spirit treasures in Heaven's Road, the Sacred Saint Galaxy's weapons did not have much spirituality, but they were filled with killing intent, And the most miraculous thing was that many of the weapons contained sword concepts. Just as the two of them were discussing, the door was pushed open and Tang Tian walked out. Let's go, let's get down to business. They had just entered the trading house when a manager welcomed them. Welcome to Suji Worldwide Commerce. How can I serve you? Tang Tian said without hesitation. I'll buy 50 sets first. Old sure, and the rest of you can have one each. I want to go to the biggest trading house. Tang Tian said without hesitation. This is White Sand City's biggest weapon street. The entire street is filled with trading houses that sell weapons. All sorts of valuable goods from different continents are all on the shelves. As long as you have money, you can buy any weapon, including warships. The hotel manager introduced proudly. There's a Suji Worldwide Commerce here. Shur-san suddenly became excited. The other underworld continent demonic mounts beside him were all extremely excited. Su-jin was also stunned, but he had seen the world before. Although his heart was in a perilous state, but his face remained calm. Can this one appraise it? The manager's tone was warm, but not flattering. He recognized the manager of the White Sands Hotel as the highest grade hotel in the city. The White Sands Hotel was loved by the rich and powerful. Tang Tian asked curiously, "What's the standard?" The two of them were roused. For the sake of not attracting too much attention, Shur-san brought 10 people. Very quickly, following the increase in grade, the price of the weapons caused people's faces to turn ashen. Su-jin touched it and knew that it was real Empyrean ice tree spears. Real Empyrean ice tree spears. He was secretly excited. The astonishing amount of Empyrean ice tree spears in front of him was definitely the biggest transaction of Empyrean ice tree spears in history. Su-jin was surprised. With a smile on his face, he extended his hand and said, "Please follow me." 100 million cloud coins. He did not even hesitate. He was definitely a tyrant. The biggest trading house? The hotel manager looked at Tang Tian. The biggest trading house here is the Suji Worldwide Commerce. With a few thousand years of history, they have a wide range of goods. But they have a rule that if you want to enter the trading firm, you have to pay at least 100 million. 500,000 cloud coins for one night. Ah Lung clicked his tongue. He had just heard about it. When Bai Xiao booked the hotel, she specially booked a floor for them to stay in. As long as it meets the shop standards, you can buy it, the manager said. Su-jin's heart jumped. This sentence meant that this person had a large number of Empyrean ice tree spears. He forced himself to calm down and said with a smile, "The liquid funds in Su-ji's account is 70 billion. As long as it doesn't exceed a certain number, there shouldn't be a problem. If it does, then I can apply for permission. It shouldn't be too much of a problem if it's within 100 billion. But the price of a sword was as high as 20 billion cloud coins, causing everyone's expression to freeze. Tang Tian, who had just felt that he was very rich, suddenly felt that he was poor. This hotel is really luxurious. It must cost quite a lot for one night. Shur-san was a little hesitant as he looked around. The decorations of the hotel were extremely luxurious and exquisite. Is it famous? Tang Tian was surprised. 50 sets of wind dispelling ointment. The manager recorded it down. He did not make a fuss. 20 million cloud coins was just a small business. How many are there? Tang Tian asked. Tang Tian threw out 10 bundles of Empyrean ice tree spears. As for high-grade weapons, they contain laws, but most of these laws were incomplete. Empyrean ice tree spears. The manager's face revealed a look of shock. He said cautiously, "I will have to ask the shopkeeper about this. May I ask if you want to sell the Empyrean ice tree spears?" "No." Tang Tian shook his head. He looked at Su-jin. "How many more can you buy?" Su-jin nodded his head in his heart. It was a reliable price. The other party had obviously done their research. He said straightforwardly, "Deal." And in terms of medical supplies, we first recommend Benevolent Hall's Evil Dispelling Ointment. Its use is to remove the hidden injuries left behind by long-term energy corrosion in the body. Out of the 2,400 similar products, we have carefully tested and compared them, and finally picked out Benevolent Hall's Evil Dispelling Ointment. Because its effect is the most outstanding, it can even remove the hidden injuries left behind over 10 years. Every bottle of evil dispelling ointment is sold for 400,000 cloud coins. Although it is expensive, but we still give it a 5-star recommendation. The hotel manager was secretly happy the people he brought along could get a 5% commission. He initially thought that the group of people were peasants and could not hide their rustic aura, but due to his professional conduct, he was still very dedicated to serving them. Who knew that they were rich? Weapons that cost 5 billion cloud coins were only high-level weapons. Our shop's goods are mainly separated into individual weapons and army weapons. Please follow me. This side is the area. It displays all of our shop's individual weapons. Among them are weapons, armor, support, medical supplies, etc. The manager gave an extremely detailed data, which was extremely convincing. Yes, Tang Tian said straightforwardly. In the VIP lounge, Su Jin said, "Sire is preparing to sell the Empyrean Ice Tree Spears. I wonder if I could take a look?" Sounds powerful. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Let's go to the Suji Worldwide Commerce. Sure Sun jumped in fright. His face was filled with pain. So expensive? What a waste. It's 500,000. Why don't they just rob someone? At the top of the weapons rack, there was a scarlet red sword. Emitting an astonishing aura, the energy around it was continuously being absorbed by it. Tang Tian curiously asked the manager to take a look. The manager did not reject and handed the sword to Tang Tian's hands. Tang Tian then realized the treasured sword called Scarlet Snake actually had a complete law inside. All right, Tang Tian was extremely straightforward. Bang! A bundle of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears was thrown onto the carpet. No problem. Tang Tian waved his hand. Su Jin, who had never lost his composure before, had his mouth wide open, like a fool. He was dumbstruck. Yes, the situation that a lone ranger has to face will always be complicated and ever-changing. This also means that they need more methods to adapt to the situation. In our statistics, the importance of medical supplies is second only to weapons and armors. We will always advise these types of customers to increase their investment. In our statistics, lone rangers who carry medical supplies that cost more than 2 million cloud coins, their average lifespan is 5 times that of those who do not invest more than 1 million in medical supplies. They were all country bumpkins. How could they have seen such a luxurious place before? Then are you buying the Empyrean Ice Tree Spears? Tang Tian asked directly. In this aspect, the hotel manager was obviously more professional. He continued, the Suji Worldwide Commerce specializes in high-end weapons trading in the entire Sacred Saint Galaxy. The Suji Worldwide Commerce can enter the top 5. They have a unique characteristic. They do not only sell their own weapons. As long as there is a weapon that they feel is outstanding, they will automatically place it on the Suji Worldwide Commerce's shelves. Many weapon shops take pride in their own products being able to enter the Suji Worldwide Commerce. Very famous. They only sell high-quality goods and are extremely famous. Sure Sun, who was overly excited, did not know how to describe it. Sujin's tone was filled with confidence. Since when did the Suji Worldwide Commerce worry about money? Everyone in the VIP lounge took in a deep breath of cold air. Everyone was shocked by the Suji Worldwide Commerce's wealth. Sure Sun and the rest's hearts turned cold. All of them revealed bitter smiles. They were still dreaming of being rich, but suddenly realized that they could not even afford a warship. Because of Bai Xiao, Tang Tian and the rest enjoyed the treatment of White Sands Hotel's VIP guests. The hotel provided excellent service, and a manager acted as their guide. The manager said, "This depends on the grade. Warships start at 5 billion, warships start at 20 billion, and there is no upper limit. In the evaluation of similar products, to be able to enter the top 5, that is my shop standard." The manager's tone was calm, but it revealed a sense of pride. Bang, bang, bang. Only Tang Tian was not shaken. He smiled happily. That's great. During the inspection, Su Jin, who had already counted them, said generously, a total of 106,848 billion. Let's take it as 1 billion. Please wait a moment. The manager left in a hurry, and after a moment, a middle-aged man dressed in blue came to Tang Tian's shop and cupped his fists. I am Su Jin, my shop's shopkeeper. May I ask who wants to sell Empyrean ice tree spears? The large VIP lounge immediately quieted down. The 10 bundles of Empyrean ice tree spears took up more than half of the room. Under the light, the pure and translucent Empyrean ice tree spears looked like blue gemstones, causing people to be dazzled. 8 million cloud coins for one. Tang Tian said. Medical treatment? Tang Tian was surprised. Sure Sun and the rest looked at the endless store, and all of them took in cold breaths. Regardless of anything, he wanted to buy a warship. The VIP lounge immediately quieted down. Everyone was stunned by the bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears. The manager revealed looks of shock. Crazy Tang did not forget that the most important mission of this trip was to run a business. In the future, the Sword Forest stronghold would definitely produce black gold, and finding a market was their most urgent mission. The other two matters were to purchase a report on the rise of the Honorable Martial Continent, and the other was to purchase warships. Bring us to take a look, Tang Tian said loudly. All three matters were extremely important. I wonder how many there are? Su Jin asked. He carefully checked through them, afraid that he might miss something. After a long while, he stood up and exhaled. I wonder how much you are willing to sell all these Empyrean ice tree spears for? Me. Tang Tian raised his hand. You're not satisfied with the price? Su Jin was surprised. Only 8. 1 billion? Tang Tian was dissatisfied. It was still far from a warship. All right. The manager was extremely professional. He did not ask why. The customers that came here were all wealthy, and their tempers were often eccentric, and they were long used to it. Tang Tian did not mind, but asked, Do you buy weapons here? His face became even more respectful, and he brought Tang Tian and his group towards the Suji Worldwide Commerce. The Suji Worldwide Commerce was at the center of the entire street. The size of the shop made the other trading companies pale in comparison. Many, Tang Tian said. Seeing the string of zeros that made people dizzy, Tang Tian suddenly thought of a terrible question. May I ask, how much is a warship? Chapter 600. Su Jin gave a time limit. 3 days. Tang Tian nodded repeatedly at Su Jin's words. With so much money, how many armies can we build? The hotel manager's expression changed drastically. Soul research. This is a bottomless pit with no hope. This Suji Worldwide Commerce's silver VIP card is a small token of my appreciation. With this card, you can enjoy a 5% discount at any of the Suji Worldwide Commerce's stores. You can also use this card to withdraw up to 100 million from any of the Suji Worldwide Commerce's stores. He had to rope in such a potential customer. That's right, the Honorable Martial Continent succeeded, but how many people are learning from them? Who else succeeded? Not one. This is a bottomless pit. No amount of money is enough to fill it. The hotel manager's attitude was fierce. No problem, Su Jin agreed. Richard said non-committally, my research isn't cheap. But the Empyrean ice tree spears, as the only customer that could provide such a large amount of Empyrean ice tree spears, Tang Tian had displayed immense potential and was worth Su Jin to rope in. Tang Tian also understood, wasn't this a weapon that was naturally suitable for Sure Sun and his underworld continent's demonic mounts? Stop bragging. Do you know how expensive things related to souls are? The hotel manager retorted sarcastically. Tens of billions of dollars spent on soul research are as many as the hairs on an ox. Richard felt a little guilty, but when he thought of his son, he threw caution to the wind. He's researching souls. All right. Su Jin was not unhappy with Sure Sun's interruption. Heaven-binding Ghostblade, a silver rank warship weapon. Its furthest attack range is 15,000 meters. For a single person to control it, it needs to be at least a silver saint. If it was controlled by multiple people, it would require more than 20 martial artists who were proficient in saber arts. Its energy load was not high, but it had a high requirement for the synchronization rate. If the synchronization rate was lower than 70%, it could not be used. When the synchronization rate reached above 75%, it would reach its standard power. Every time the synchronization rate increases, its power will increase significantly. He thought about the Shan continent's estuary. It was pitifully small, and immediately said, "The warship body needs to be narrow, but its firepower needs to be ferocious. Its operation needs to be simple, and it needs to be nimble. I'll buy it." Tang Tian waved his hand. When they heard the same voices around them, they realized that everyone was feeling the same. The speed at which he earned money was fast enough, and the speed at which he spent money was also not inferior. "Okay," Tang Tian agreed. "Wait," Tang Tian suddenly interrupted. "He's researching souls?" This was the first silver VIP card he had seen. The moment Su Jin heard Tang Tian's words, he knew that he was a rookie, but he did not try to fool him just because he had no experience. On the contrary, he gave a pertinent suggestion. There's no such thing as the best warship. Due to their different uses, they each have their own strengths. For example, some battleships pursued speed, some pursued firepower, and some pursued defense. There was no difference between them. "Mr. Meng, why don't you tell me your specific requirements? I can give you some suggestions." Tang Tian said, "Then I'll come back in 3 days to get the warship. I'll have the results by then." Su Jin lowered his head and calculated. Adding it all up, it's a total of 65.3 billion. After the discount, it's 62 billion. The remaining 3.5 million will be erased. "How long will it take?" Tang Tian asked. The entire underworld continent's demonic mounts had 500 men, 12 of them, just enough to rotate. In truth, with Tang Tian standards, it was not enough to obtain the silver VIP card. The silver VIP card required a minimum spending of 100 billion. Ignoring the fact that Tang Tian had not spent it, even if he did, it would only be 90 billion, which was still a bit away from the minimum. "Please speak," the hotel manager said. The hotel manager was completely smashed by happiness. He did not receive the 5% commission because he had already reached the maximum, 20 million. Su Jin was overjoyed. The 90 billion that he had just taken out was about to return back to his shop. What could make him happier than that? He laughed. "What kind of warship does Mr. Meng need?" "I want to buy a warship," Tang Tian said loudly. "No problem. I recommend the Black Arrow series of warships. It is a silver-grade small-scale warship. Its widest point is 60 m. Its length is 60 m. Its speed and agility, in the same type of warships, can be ranked in the top 3. The hull is made from black mist wood, which is extremely sturdy and has outstanding stealth capabilities. Its energy barrier is not considered strong, with a thickness of 2 m, but with its unique illusion form, it can change the shape of the energy barrier, allowing the warship to gain even more outstanding agility. In terms of firepower, it is also outstanding, with 3 silver-grade main cannons. Its might is powerful. 6 silver-grade honeycomb sword cannons, 3 silver-grade star conglomerate spears, and 6 heaven-binding ghost blades. The black metal in his hands was extremely sturdy, and his experience told him that it was an outstanding metal material. Meng Nen had many good things in his hands, causing Su Jin to be surprised. "I'll sponsor it," Tang Tian said straightforwardly. "No problem," Su Jin agreed. "This modification is very simple and only requires 2 days to complete. Other than that, I suggest adding a set of rainbow eyes. It can see through the majority of stealth and camouflage and is one of the top products of the same grade. As for Bronze Saints, we need 15 people, and the energy consumption is very small." Su Jin continued, "We will accept the materials, but as for the properties of the materials, we will need to do a detailed analysis before we can give a conclusion." He knew about the limit in the past, but he never thought that he would encounter one. He took out a piece of black gold and threw it to Su Jin. "You guys accept the materials? What do you think of this material?" "I want the best warship," Tang Tian said without hesitation. 11 bundles, 90 billion. The White Sands Academy was the largest and strongest academy in the White Sands continent. The hotel manager used his connections to the maximum and brought Tang Tian and the rest to the White Sands Academy. Shi Sun suddenly interrupted. "Please introduce the heaven-binding ghost blade." Shi Sun sucked in a breath of cold air. A warship actually cost 62 billion. The room became quiet. Tang Tian immediately paid up, and other than that, medicines, and all the equipment on shelves, he bought one. When the time comes, he would throw it to Silay to research, but it was a pity that the warship was too big. If not, he could get one for Silay to research. At that time, if he could build a warship himself, how great would that be? In the end, the total amount reached 83 billion. But someone succeeded. Richard retorted, "Please believe in our sincerity." The hotel manager was confident. He knew that the person behind him had over 7 billion in his hands. No other report would be so expensive. Richard stuck out his neck. "Unless you guys sponsor it, I will not give it to you. It's like this, my son. I have an extremely good project and currently need to sponsor. If you guys are willing to sponsor this project, I'm willing to give this report to you. Of course, as a sponsor, you guys will be rewarded," Richard said. Walking out of the Suji Worldwide Commerce, the cold wind outside caused Sure Sun to be more awake. He had just witnessed a transaction of over 10 billion and was in an extremely excited state. Only then did he completely wake up and could not help but exhale. Yes, seeing that Tang Tian seemed to be interested, Richard's spirit was roused. "We have already found the crux. We only need a certain amount of funds, and after a few experiments, we will succeed." The hotel manager looked at the silver VIP card in Su Jin's hand with envy. The Suji Worldwide Commerce's VIP card was extremely difficult to obtain, and it was not something that could be obtained with money. Prestige, reputation, etc. were all factors that needed to be considered. "We need to increase the number of heaven-binding ghost blades." Tang Tian thought for a moment. "Let's increase it to 12. Tang Tian's motive for doing business was to experience the first-rate equipment, and he could feel that their equipment had a lot of room for improvement. But he knew how important a stable income was to the Sword 4 stronghold. The Empyrean Ice Tree spears were worth a lot of money, but there would be a day when they would be sold out. In truth, after selling 11 bundles, he only had 15 left. He still had to wait for the black gold ingots, and after buying the warships, there was only one thing left, which was the research report regarding the rise of the Honorable Martial Continent. "I want it in stock," Tang Tian said. Richard looked at the group of people in front of him curiously and was surprised. "You guys want to buy the Honorable Martial Continent's research report?" Su Jin said, "Small-scale warships, narrow bodies, firepower and agility, and easy to operate. Do you want it in stock, or do you need to order it? It will take a longer time to order it, but the requirements will be more in line with your wishes." Even for Su Jin, it was rare for him to encounter such a high price, but after the initial shock, he became extremely decisive. If it were any other weapons, he would be worried about whether it was worth it or not, but the Empyrean Ice Tree spears were definitely not a problem. 11 bundles of Empyrean Ice Tree spears only amounted to 10,000 of them. Everyone was stunned by Tang Tian's extravagance. He had just earned 90 billion and had to spend 83 billion. After witnessing the power of warships, Tang Tian had long decided that no matter what, he had to get a good warship. He had never planned to save money on such a thing. "Yes," the hotel manager replied respectfully. "We have heard that you are an authority in this field, and we have specially come here, hoping to obtain your help. Of course, we are willing to pay a corresponding price." "Impossible," the hotel manager roared. Hearing that Tang Tian was interested in the rise of the Honorable Martial Continent, the local hotel manager immediately patted his chest and said that he knew where to find it. Everyone could not help but smile. All of their eyes flashed with a light aura of hope, their future lives, their future battles. It truly made them look forward to it. He was not dissatisfied. 20 million. How many years would he need to earn that amount? It was like a meat pie falling from the sky, to become rich overnight. With the Suji Worldwide Commerce's enormous sales network, throwing over 10,000 Empyrean Ice Tree spears, it would not be a problem. And what made him excited was that when the Empyrean Ice Tree spears appeared on the Suji Worldwide Commerce's shelves, it would cause a huge commotion. Richard immediately realized that he had met a tycoon, and his attitude quickly became passionate. Please sit. I can give you the report for free, but I have a small request." "What project?" The hotel manager was astute. Upon hearing that, he immediately understood that it was not a good project. If not, why was there no one sponsoring it? How could an ordinary person raise a fleet? A customer with 90 billion cloud coins had the qualifications to enjoy the Suji Worldwide Commerce's VIP treatment. Chapter 601. Richard secretly guessed Tang Tian's background. Silence, a deathly silence. 1 billion. Tang Tian interrupted him. Seeing that Richard still wanted to shake his head, he added, "Increase your son's budget by 1 billion. The Honorable Marshall Continent has used many methods to deal with them in the dark, and for hundreds of years, they have continuously attacked them. These things are not known to anyone, but I found them in an old diary when I was researching about the underworld. As researchers, we will always come into contact with some strange things. So, I suspect that the Honorable Marshall Continent's reason for dealing with the 13 families is because of this disappearance. I am thinking, what is the reason for the Honorable Marshall Continent to persevere in attacking these families? Take note, it is an attack with destruction as its goal. Then there is only one possibility: the 13 families that the Honorable Marshall Continent has acknowledged as their masters might pose a threat to them. To be able to persevere when everyone else had failed, it was either stupid or courageous. Richard suddenly sensed that something was amiss. He was about to be dragged into a whirlpool. He knew better than anyone else how deep the waters were. He tried to evade. "Hey, I'm just a teacher in an academy. This is just my research topic. Then we will raise this place to the ground." Tang Tian completely lost his patience, his killing intent surging. The Honorable Marshall Continent was like a mountain that pressed down on Tang Tian's heart. And with the urgency of time, Tang Tian's pressure increased by the day. Tang Tian naturally knew why the Honorable Marshall Continent would attack the 13 families. The 12 ecliptic palaces in Onyxol were the most hated enemies of the Honorable Marshall Alliance and Temple. Seeing that Tang Tian was listening attentively, Richard became even more excited. When I was researching the history of the Honorable Marshall Continent's rise, I realized that they rarely leave the Western continent and directly attack the families of other continents. And these 13 families are the targets that they are using all their strength to deal with. I am curious why the Honorable Marshall Continent is trying so hard to deal with them. Then, while I was researching their family history, I discovered something interesting. These 13 families in the distant ancient times appeared at the same time in a missing person incident. This is the only thing that the 13 families are related to. From the start, the Honorable Marshall Continent had the intention of conquering Heaven's Road. "Sir, can I persuade him?" the hotel manager asked weakly. The current Honorable Marshall Continent was the most representative powerhouse of the Western region. The 13 families, I gave them the name, the 13 families that suffered under the Honorable Marshall Continent. Richard shrugged his shoulders. There are many families that have suffered attacks from the Honorable Marshall Continent, and in a few hundred years, they have directly swallowed up more than 500 continents. On average, they would annex a continent every year. This was only direct annexation. The number of indirect annexations was even higher. However, these 13 clans are not in the Western continent, but in the Southern domain. Richard hesitated. He was struggling internally. But also, do you know how to negotiate? Don't you know how to quote a price? Don't you know how to beat around the bush? Sure, son, who was at the side, did not feel envious. Instead, he stared coldly at Richard. As long as His Excellency gave the order, he would not hesitate to pounce forward and break this fellow's neck. The hotel manager stared blankly at Tang Tian. 2 billion. That was 2 billion. Why didn't he study hard back then? Why did I not research the Honorable Marshall Continent? Why? They praised the Honorable Marshall Continent's team spirit and thought that although they did not have any leaders, but their outstanding teamwork had pushed them to unprecedented heights. The hotel manager was filled with envy towards Richard. Richard's face turned pale white. If I can find the 13 families, they will be my natural allies. No problem. Tang Tian was overjoyed. We are also very powerful. 2 billion. After witnessing the power of the warships, Tang Tian was clear that Heaven's Road's armies were definitely unable to defend against the armies of the Sacred Saint Galaxy, as both parties were not on the same level. Once Richard made his decision, his actions were decisive. He immediately resigned from his job. When he returned to the hotel, he had another young man by his side, little Richard. When little Richard heard that Tang Tian was willing to sponsor him to conduct research on spirits, he did not have any doubts. And when Tang Tian threw him a star treasure, it immediately attracted little Richard's attention, causing him to be in a daze the entire way. After signing the sponsorship agreement and paying the first 200 million cloud coins, Richard's heart finally calmed down. In truth, he did not approve of his son's decision, but who asked him to be his son? To be able to help his son was Richard's greatest consolation. Sure, son and the rest immediately surrounded Richard. The hotel manager took the card and looked at the numbers on it and almost fainted. 100 million cloud coins. Regardless of whether he was foolish or brave, Tang Tian felt that it was good. He was that kind of person. The other party was right. The honorable Marshall continent had risen in the past few hundred years, and compared to the gold continent, which had over 10,000 years of history and tradition, they were the newest upstarts. But in the world, it was not based on experience and history. Strength was the cruelest standard. Tang Tian took the report, sat down, and started to read it carefully. This is a research report on the honorable Marshall continent in the entire Sacred Saint galaxy. No one is more authoritative than me. No one understands the honorable Marshall continent better than me. What are you guys trying to do? This is the White Sands Academy. If you guys dare to make a move here, the White Sands Academy will definitely not let you go. Richard bellowed. After a long while, Richard raised his head, his face still pale white. I can promise you, but you have to guarantee my son's safety. Tang Tian was extremely satisfied with the day's harvest, but he knew that it was just the beginning. If the report was made public, then the honorable Marshall continent would definitely kill him. His understanding of the honorable Marshall continent's way of doing things far surpassed anyone else. Although the hotel manager found it hard to understand Tang Tian's choice, but he understood the tyrant. The tyrants in the world were all weird. When a person became a tyrant, he would naturally become weird. Maybe it was a hobby, or maybe there was something that the tyrant was interested in, but in short, he could do whatever he wanted. Following a tyrant was much more promising than being a hotel manager. Just the income from the day was enough for him to not have to worry about his future. Tang Tian turned and praised the hotel manager. You're not bad. This is your reward. I am lacking a representative in the White Sands Academy. Are you interested? Tang Tian suddenly asked. He felt that the hotel manager was very smart and reliable. There are few others. Richard said, This is the southern region. No matter how strong the honorable Marshall continent is, they cannot reach here. They can only spend money to hire people to do it, but no one will allow the underworld forces to go overboard. It is a challenge to the order. The tyrants of the southern region's aristocratic families will not allow it. And the underworld forces are smarter than anyone else. They're not willing to bring about a disaster for money. I want to find them. What can I do? Tang Tian asked directly. You think you can be so arrogant just because you have some money? All right, you can. Suddenly, he noticed a piece of content. The entire western region was enveloped by the honorable Marshall continent's dazzling light aura. The honorable Marshall continent had already become one of the top tyrants of the Sacred Saint galaxy, and its rise was a history of annexation. Many people called this characteristic of the honorable Marshall continent as undercurrent style advancement. 13 families? Can you tell me about it? Tang Tian asked. The Sacred Saint galaxy had tens of thousands of continents, and the western region had the most, with over 4,000 continents of various sizes. But now, there were only 2,000 of them. In the past few hundred years, the honorable Marshall continent continued to strengthen and annex. From a middle-grade continent in the western region, they quickly became the tyrant of the western region, and then became the top tyrant of the entire Sacred Saint galaxy. But now, another person who was able to absorb the advantages of both worlds had appeared, and that was Tang Tian. Furthermore, the honorable Marshall continent did not know that Tang Tian was already in the Sacred Saint galaxy. Tang Tian interrupted him. Are the 13 families still around? But time was not on Tang Tian's side. I'll give you 2 minutes, Tang Tian said coldly. At that moment, Richard no longer had any suspicions towards Tang Tian. The treasures with spirits were extremely expensive. Tang Tian actually casually gave one to Richard, as though it was an ordinary object. Seeing that, Tang Tian already understood what was going on. The reason why the Honorable Martial Continent was able to successfully research on spirits was because they had the Honorable Martial Alliance and Temple, and were able to absorb the advantages of both worlds. Richard's tone of voice was extremely arrogant, with his nose pointing to the sky. The hotel manager's face changed. They were in the White Sands Academy. If a murder were to happen here, then he, the person who pulled the strings, would definitely not be able to escape. No, I have to stop this. What was even more surprising was that in the hundreds of years of the Honorable Martial Continent's rise, there had not been any outstanding geniuses. They had quietly improved on their martial techniques of the Honorable Martial Continent. They had quietly conducted research on spirits. They had quietly formed the Honorable Martial Army, and had quietly annexed other continents. Swoosh! Everyone's eyes landed on him. This was something that Tang Tian would never allow. Heaven's Road was his home, and he could not allow it to be trampled on. He had decided to go to Three Spirits City later, and let the Ursa Major constellation join the battle against the Honorable Martial Alliance. The Honorable Martial Alliance and Temple were the Honorable Martial Continent's claws and teeth. 500 million. Tang Tian stared at Richard. There are so many secrets and information, it is not something that an ordinary teacher can obtain. This subordinate is willing. If boss has any errands for me, Han's son will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. He said without hesitation. The hotel manager spoke quickly. Professor, I do not understand why you are rejecting it. Are you afraid of being implicated? Is this report not enough? You have already found out the Honorable Martial Continent's secret. As long as we publicize this report, the Honorable Martial Continent will definitely not let you go. Do you think that you can contend against the Honorable Martial Continent? They cannot destroy the 13 families, but they can easily buy your life with money. Oh, and that includes your son. That is just research, and many of those things were dug out from piles of waste paper. Richard shook his head like a rattle drum. There was no time for Tang Tian to slowly develop. Once the star door was opened, the Honorable Martial Continent's armies would enter Heaven's Road, and that would definitely be a disaster. Hearing that, Tang Tian understood the 12 ecliptic palaces in Onyx Soul. It was so crude that it made people's hair stand on end. Tang Tian was never a person who won people over with virtue. He stared at Richard and shouted, Sure, son. Chapter 602. That's right. Such a good blade. In the hands of an old man, it is such a waste. Why not give it to us? We can still display its might. Everyone subconsciously held their breaths. They had a premonition that the following attack would definitely be earth-shattering. The remaining 3 gathered all of their strength and prepared to withstand the next attack. In the blink of an eye, there were only 3 people left. The aura of the 11 of them were one, without any flaws, like a raging wave, each wave stronger than the one before, each wave higher than the one before. The short-haired man was surrounded by a group of swift and fierce-looking companions. All of them had sharp expressions, revealing a fierce glint. Dangerous? Everyone was in disbelief. Ah Sang was the most ferocious person out of all of them, and was never afraid of the heavens or the earth, but he was actually afraid because of the danger. Everyone looked at Sure Sun and the rest as though they had seen a ghost. The moment when all of the aura disappeared, it completely went against common sense. The fist that was already filled with power, how could it suddenly let go? On the contrary, the light aura around Sure Sun and the rest became extremely gentle. Even the last 3 people had faces of shame. Sure Sun's face revealed a look of disdain. Han Sen's treacherous official appearance made him extremely disgusted. Anyone else want to come out? Sure Sun said indifferently. No more. Someone shouted from below, followed by chuckles. The underworld continent's demonic mounts behind Sure Sun slowly raised the black wind blade in their hands. That's possible. One look and I can tell he's a fool with too much money. I'm going up. But the good thing was that they had already found their target, and the enemy did not know of their existence. This gave them an advantage. Other than the fact that they were pressed for time, Tang Tian felt that their chances of winning were still very high. It was truly a disgrace to be on the same side as such a person with no backbone. The remaining 14 people were bitterly holding on. All of them clenched their teeth, veins popping out, the energy in their bodies being pushed to the limit, all of their bodies enveloped with a thick light aura. Good. Sure Sen's expression was calm. To be able to persevere for 30 seconds, you pass. Everyone was shocked. The synchronization rate definitely exceeded 80%. What made them even more afraid was that out of the 11 people, not a single one of them had unsheathed their blades. The current Qin continent's tyrannical mounts were renowned in the sacred Saint Galaxy and were publicly acknowledged as one of the top 10 elite troops. As he finished speaking, he took a step forward. The 10 people behind him bent their bodies slightly at the same time. They held onto their swords and took a step forward. With just one step, their lights merged into one. Without any warning, the aura that had soared to the limit and was on the verge of exploding suddenly disappeared without a trace. The 3 people who were still standing in the field spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time and collapsed to the ground. Sure Sen's lips curled into a smile. However, that smile did not contain any warmth. It was as cold as ice. The mockery of these people just now had long made his stomach full of fire. The crowd roared with laughter. He called out to his companions behind him and left. His voice wasn't loud, but in the dead silence, everyone could hear him. Ah Sang's intuition was the strongest out of all of them. With this, he had saved their fates on the battlefield several times. They trusted Ah Sang's intuition deeply. Time jumped to 26 seconds. More than half of the people laughed and stood up, while the others watched the show with a look of anticipation. In the past, the reputation of the underworld continent's demonic mounts was already bad, and only amateurs who did not know anything would choose the underworld continent's demonic mounts. Sure Sun casually shouted, 7, 8, 9. His confidence did not come from nowhere. Along the way, they had already defeated many strong opponents. Toward strong opponents, Tang Tian was never the least bit afraid. His right hand similarly held onto Evening Snow Ocean's blade hilt, and his aura suddenly soared. Before they left, a few of the Qin continent's tyrannical mounts did not conceal their hostility towards Sure Sun and the rest. Who was that guy? Underworld continent's demonic mounts? The lady in charge of receiving them nodded her head. Yes, Region D, please follow me. Your blade is not bad. The short-haired man glanced at Evening Snow Ocean in Sure Sen's hands and continued, If we meet in the battlefield in the future, I will not hold back just because you are old. Let's go, uncles. You should leave early. Tang Tian did not stay in the hotel either. Everyone, keep a low profile for the next few days. There have been many experts recently, so don't cause any trouble. Humph, it is their fortune that we have taken a fancy to his blade. A group of old men who are so old that they can barely walk do not have the qualifications to own such a good blade. But upon stepping into the mercenary center, his expression became serious. What made him even more unhappy was that because the 2 of them had the word son in their names, the boss called him to son and called Hansenair Senator Bang. Compared to the other party, they were truly a motley crew. Underworld continent's demonic mounts? Ha, here comes a rookie. But the light auras of the 10 of them merged into one. Everyone could not believe their ears. The last 3 who persevered were all injured because of this formless attack. It's normal to not recognize him. Young Miss Qin Yuran is here. How many people have come here? I reckon he is here for young Miss Qin Yuran. It's good to be a rookie, easy to trick. Who knows? He might even open his business today. Sure Sen's mouth suddenly revealed a ridiculing smile, and the 10 people behind him also revealed ridiculing smiles. A group of people walked out of the mercenary center, and one of them asked, Ah Sang, why aren't we taking action? That blade is truly strong, although it has not been unsheathed, but I can feel that it is very strong. The light aura in his eyes became colder, and the evening snow ocean in his hand was slowly raised. Applause came out from behind. It was a short-haired man who was praising, I never thought that I would be able to see the real underworld continent's demonic mounts. You truly have some talent. But a pity, all of you are old and are not our opponents. You will not be able to see the underworld continent's demonic mounts at their peak. If not, you would have the qualifications to spar with our Qin continent's tyrannical mounts. May I ask what you need? A lady came forward with a face full of smiles. Energy surged frantically around Shi's son and the rest. One after another of dazzling light scars rose up like a whirlwind. Everyone looked at each other. They did not suspect that Ah Sang was hallucinating. Tang Tian had long handed the task of selecting the underworld continent's demonic mounts to Shi's son, and Tang Tian was curious as to how Shi's son would select the real underworld continent's demonic mounts from the group of people. Initially, Shi's son had planned to head to the underworld continent to recruit, but they were lacking in manpower, so he suggested to try his luck at the city's mercenary center. A motley crew. This ear-piercing word entered everyone's ears, but all of them who had bad tempers and would fight with just a word of disagreement were all standing there in a daze. Master, this is White Sands City's largest mercenary center. All the nearby mercenaries with decent standards will all come here to look for work. There are many trading companies in White Sands City, and there are also many caravans, so we often need to replenish our manpower. There are even some rich landlords nearby who will come because of its reputation. Han Sen's lackey was extremely flattering. If they are able to catch your eye, then they're truly blessed from their past lives. One after another, figures flew out. They fiercely smashed into the wall. Two of them even suffered light injuries, blood seeping out from the corner of their mouths. All of them had faces of shock. Ah Sang listened to everyone's discussion, but was thinking back to the scene just now. He could not understand why the seemingly ordinary young man would give him such a dangerous feeling. Bang bang. Underworld continent's demonic mounts. Have you guys seen the real underworld continent's demonic mounts? The enemy is stronger than you think. Who exactly is he? Ah Sang's expression congealed. He spoke while walking. You guys did not notice the young man behind the old man. He is very dangerous. The last two words came out from Shi's son's mouth. He did not hesitate to cover his face that was filled with disdain and spat out the words, a motley crew. The Qin continent's tyrannical mounts were currently the most elite soldiers, and in the past 2 years of small and big battles, their figures could be seen everywhere. They were extremely impactful and valiant, and they had absorbed the mistakes made by the underworld continent's demonic mounts in the past. The Qin continent's management of the tyrannical mounts was extremely strict, and upon discovering any imposters, they would chase and kill them. Shi's son's expression remained the same. Only the cold intent in his eyes became even more biting cold. The last time when he withdrew all of his power was the true transformation and was a strike that surpassed everyone's imagination. This Mr. wishes to recruit Underworld Continent's demonic mounts. Those who fit the criteria, please step forward and accept the interview. The lady said loudly. 2930. Yes. Ah Sang's eyes had a trace of lingering fear. When I noticed the blade in the old man's hand, the young man looked at me, and at that time, all of the hairs on my body stood up. That guy just looked at me casually. There were only 20 people left who were able to persevere and not move. 18, 19. Bang. The competition was extremely intense. It was as though the scene where they were on the verge of exploding was an illusion. The aura he emitted became more and more astonishing, and the energy in the room became more and more active. Many people realized that the energy in their bodies was showing signs of losing control. Richard found Tang Tian and asked for a sum of money, then left. Another 6 people could not hold on any longer and retreated backwards. 3 of them felt their legs go soft and fell on their butts. At that moment, no one was laughing at them. Everyone looked at Shi's son and the rest in fear. Is he still Ah Sang? Pa pa pa, Qin continent's tyrannical mounts? Shi's son squinted his eyes. Shi's son asked, are there any underworld continent's demonic mounts? A group of people started talking. All of them did not understand. Ah Sang was not someone who was easy to talk to. And at that moment, the evening snow ocean in Shi's son's hand had already reached its highest point. His aura had also reached its peak, like a reservoir that was filled to the brim. I'll go too. An astonishing aura exploded out without any warning. The surging killing intent caused the temperature in the room to drop below 0 degrees. Being caught off guard, a majority of the saints felt as though their chests were struck by a heavy blow. They retreated 7 to 8 steps before stopping with faces full of shock. Following behind the lady, a group of people arrived at Area D. Area D was filled with mercenaries waiting to be selected. Most of them came from poor and destitute areas. Other than killing people, they did not have any other abilities. They who did not have any life skills could only wait here every day, waiting to be selected. Chapter 603. Second Uncle. I can buy an Empyrean ice tree spear. Bai Xiao suddenly said. The deputy looked at Lien Bo Jun hesitantly. Boss, the other side is very angry with our actions. They think that we broke the agreement and did not keep our word. What? You were attacked by pirates? It was a pirate fleet. Oh my God. There are actually pirates in the sea near our White Sands continent. A beautiful lady used a feather fan to cover her mouth, her face filled with fear. Bai suddenly stood up. That's right. Bai nodded his head. I'll give you another 1 billion. That should be enough. That thing is not bad, and it's also good for keeping its value. It's also good to please your mentor. Didn't he come up with the blue poison project back then? It's because there aren't enough Empyrean ice tree spears. To be able to do this, they were worthy of being called elites. What do you think? Think about it. Bai winked. Your kindness and benevolence are as precious as gold. At this time, it has proven that you were right. Another beautiful woman praised. After more than 10 minutes, he finally reacted. He stumbled and ran out with a pale face. He wanted to report this incomparably important discovery to his master. A woman could exchange for an entire fleet. Was this woman made of gold? Even gold wasn't worth that much. The deputy grinned like a bandit. Huh, that's how I answered them. What kind of rubbish is this? How dare you point your fingers at us? Are you tired of living? A fleet? The deputy stuttered, his face blank. Not enough. Bai Xiao shook her head. Bai Xiao looked at Bai Yu in shock and was speechless for a moment. Ning Hai was leisurely drinking tea and eating snacks. It would take half a day for the results to come out. There's no mistake. Bai Xiao tried to curry favor with him. Second Uncle, give it to me first. I have already informed my teacher about the news and asked my family to send money over. Bai Xiao had a face of helplessness. Second Uncle, what are you thinking about? Although I admire you, Ran, but there are no romantic feelings between us. I'm borrowing money from you for something else. Bai Xiao ignored him and continued. The Empyrean ice tree spear was bought from him. But I didn't have enough money, so I only bought 100 of them. 2 billion, this should be enough. I'm going to die of poverty. Bai Yu said helplessly. 46 people had to control a honeycomb sword cannon and a beheading light machine to repel a group of pirates. It was obvious that it required an extremely high frequency of attacks. Ning Hai casually picked up the report, but after a few glances, he suddenly jumped up and said incoherently, How is this possible? How is this possible? Did he make a mistake today? He pulled at his hair in agony, which meant that he needed to do it all over again. This was the Suji worldwide commerce, and the requirements were extremely strict. If the boss knew that he had made such a big mistake in his work, then he wouldn't be able to continue working. Where did they go after that? Lien Bo Jun continued to ask. Ning Hai was White Sands Suji worldwide commerce's most famous material appraiser, and was in charge of valuing materials. This was a job that many people were jealous of. The salary was high, and the work was quite easy. Are they very powerful? Salad. Lien Bo Jun did not even raise his head. Where are they? Bai Yu became excited. I want to see them. The noble women sitting in a circle were all shocked at this moment. His second uncle Bai Yu was his idol when he was young. Becoming the commander of an army at the age of 16, such qualifications in any continent would cause people to be dumbstruck. In the 20 years after that, he had defeated many strong enemies and became the #1 military general of the Bai family, and was the true authoritative figure of the Bai family. Seems like it was an accident. Lien Bo Jun said, the battlefield was always filled with accidents. Furthermore, they were a group of pirates, which meant even more. Everyone started to talk, but luckily Qin Yu Ran was familiar with it and could handle it easily. Second uncle, you really don't care about me. Bai Xiao grumbled, but his face did not show any dissatisfaction. It was a luxurious manner. Oh, let them be angry. Lian Bo-jun did not even raise his head. We are pirates. Do pirates need to be trustworthy? Borrow money. Bai Yu's killing intent soared. We definitely cannot let this batch of Empyrean ice tree spears land in other people's hands. That old man's luck is truly good. This time he got lucky. I hope he can truly research out the Empyrean ice tree. Not enough. Bai Xiao shook his head firmly. On top of it was a pile of dazzling data, which could only be seen from the most despicable metal aristocratic families. Elites. At the other corner of the hall, Bai Xiao and a middle-aged man were holding wine cups, chatting happily. 40-odd people. Lian Bo-jun muttered. It matched. Seems like the other party most likely has an outstanding military general, using a high synchronization rate to allow 40-odd people to bear the energy burden at the same time. When I heard that you guys met with pirates, I was shocked. The middle-aged man laughed. But after thinking about it, with your strength, no matter how bad you are, you will still be able to escape. So I was not anxious. What? Lacking money? Bai Yu glanced at Qin Yu Ran and ridiculed. Did you spend all your money chasing after girls? But, Xiao Bai, if you are able to hug the beauty, second uncle will definitely support you from home. As for your father, I will go and persuade him. How about that? If you don't dare, then you are admitting defeat. He had come to White Sands continent for business, and did not expect to meet his nephew. How long can Miss Yu Ran stay in White Sands this time? When the evening sun appeared outside the window, the evaluation report for the black gold ingot had already been completed. Sitting down at the table, he noticed the metal ingot on the table. It was a black metal ingot, smooth and smooth. He picked it up and was surprised. The metal ingot was much heavier than he had expected. This made him look forward to it, and from that, it could be seen that it was much denser. Second uncle, can you lend me some money? Bai Xiao asked with a shy face, and came over. When the second report was in front of Ning Hai, he was completely dumbfounded. Oh my God! Time flew by quickly, and he took another nap. How much does that guy have? Bai Yu was dumbfounded. Suji Worldwide Commerce. Just as Ning Hai walked into the laboratory, a manager welcomed him. Ning Hai, there's a metal ingot on your table. The boss wants you to do a comprehensive evaluation on it. You must be fast. On the second day, when the final result was out. Boss, we checked it out. The assistant was extremely excited. It's a group. They have 40-odd people, and the leader is a brat. Along the way, they met Qin Yu Ran on the ship. I heard that she was staying in the cargo hold, and met us. That's why they took action. I heard that the Bloodwood warships were sent to the Eternal Light shipyard to be repaired and maintained, and spent some money to bribe the people in the shipyard, and went up to take a look. A honeycomb sword cannon and slash machine were completely destroyed by them. It should be due to the overload causing the machine to explode. Bai Yu laughed out loud. Anyways, you're a cockroach. You won't die so easily. He threw his carefree thoughts to the back of his mind and started to treat the evaluation seriously. He did not return at night, but stayed in the Suji Worldwide Commerce and carefully repeated the experiment in the day, concentrating on it. Then what we do now? The assistant asked blankly. Why did he not understand what the boss was talking about? But upon thinking about the fleet that slipped through his fingers, he sucked in a breath of cold air, his mouth twitching, his face showing pain. Really? Bai Yu was adept at fighting. He quickly calculated in his mind, and suddenly raised his head. There's difficulty. Empyrean ice tree spears? Bai Yu was startled. The smile on his face disappeared. Empyrean ice tree spears? You want to borrow money to buy the Empyrean ice tree spears? Wait a minute. Bai Yu was startled. You said there are over 100 deadly Empyrean ice tree spears? Are you kidding me? How can there be so many Empyrean ice tree spears? No matter what, I have to buy all of them. Bai Xiao added. This group of pirates have a black dragon warship and 10 frigates. Good. Ning Hai did not haggle. It was his job. I also feel that it is impossible. Bai Xiao said, but I saw it with my own eyes. The honeycomb sword cannon and slash machine were all destroyed. They were unable to withstand the energy load and broke. At that time, I was prepared to rush out and risk my life, but when I saw the spiraling slash that covered the sky, I was dumbstruck. Yes, Bai Shao said softly. The pirates we met this time were repelled by them. 46 men, first a honeycomb sword cannon, suddenly a slash machine, and repelled the pirates. Impossible. Bai Yu's gaze exploded, and he blurted out. They parted ways with Bai Shao and Qin Yu Ran, and their whereabouts are unknown. The adjutant continued. The people close to Qin Yu Ran are not easy to bribe. How to evaluate a material's value had a set of mature procedures. As long as they followed the procedures, there would not be any problems. Not lending. Bai Yu shook his head. Not picking up girls, definitely not lending. Really? The smile on Bai Yu's face slowly disappeared. She knew that Big Brother Meng Nan and the rest did not want outsiders to know, so she spoke very vaguely. Their schemes are too big, Lien Bo Jun said. This time, we should not get too deep. A pity. Qin Yu Ran did not fall into our hands. If not, we could have earned a fleet. Furthermore, to be able to change the situation with just 40-odd men, such a team, if they were not elites, what were they? They have money. Lien Bo Jun did not have any expression, but a cold glint flashed past his eyes. Qin Yu Ran is an indispensable part of their plan. Really? Bai Shao did not hesitate. I've checked. Bai Shao simply spat out these 4 words. Yes, the situation was very dangerous. Qin Yu Ran smiled. But our luck was good. The merchants who boarded the ship gave us a lot of help. In the end, we managed to repel the pirates. Such a task was already extremely easy for Ninghai. At least 1,000 of them. Bai Shao was certain. So many? Bai Yu jumped in shock. Are you sure? Bai Shao immediately pulled him back. Second uncle, where are you going? Second uncle, how can I be wrong? Did you forget who my teacher is? Bai Shao retorted. Hey, Xiao Bai, are you having a fever? Bai Yu extended his hand out to touch Bai Zhao's forehead, his face filled with disbelief. If you said 100 or 200, I would believe it, but you said 1,000? Haha, you definitely fell for it. Too naive, young man. Only high-level blue dwarves will have Empyrean ice tree spears, and they will definitely not sell them. They are definitely lying to you.